Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's amazing that, the it's amazing as I start my stream, I already have a downvote. Like to say like one of the there's always somebody. But I want to say the worst thing that the worst sort of like weird fan negative thing that somebody did was when my book was first published. And keep in mind, like I published it, it hadn't even shipped yet. No one had actually seen it, and somebody went on the review site and put that like my book was really poorly written, gave it like 2 stars, like even though like not a single person had read it yet. And it's just like, wow, like someone went out of their way to be that much of a fucking dick. And it's funny because like my sister like saw that review and was like, I don't know what he's talking about. I read your book and it's like really, really well written. Like, how would anyone write that? And there was a big compliment coming from my sister, like because she's pretty negative on everything. But I was just like, yeah, well, that's the way some people are. The one person that this, that the downvote me before the stream even begins. That's just those are my fans. Those are my fans. How is everyone? The Sorry that I've been away a couple weeks. The uh, in case in case you don't realize that not everyone has spring break at the same time. So like I had visitors because of other people's spring break, and then I had my own kids' spring break, so I just wasn't able to do things for like 2 weeks. So that's where it is. The so the topic on hand is we're talking about a video from 6 years ago, fairly famous in the community, is the Admiral Kurd "How Can Wins Fit in Wins" video. Um, a very entertaining video from 6 years ago. Though I do have, and it's a very fun little analysis on the size of the various books and projecting different things and his ideas. I do have some fundamental like problems with it, but I'm sure he does himself. I mean, it's been 6 years, but let's get into. I want to talk about this issue of can the Winds of Winter fit in the Winds of Winter, because I think this is something we all kind of wonder. It's a very different question from can George R. R. Martin fit the Winds of Winter in the Winds of Winter. Like I do fundamentally think that the Winds of Winter can fit in the Winds of Winter pretty easily. But can George fit the Winds of Winter in the Winds of Winter? We're kind of hearing that he can't. We're kind of hearing that, oh, it's 1,100 pages so far, and it's going to be a huge book, and I can't, it's big, and the end is nowhere in sight. So if the question is, can George fit the Winds of Winter in the Winds of Winter? No, it seems he can't. But like, if the question is, can it be done? Yes. And I think a younger George could probably have done it. But I want to get into Admiral Kurd's analysis here, and some of the now I don't know how if you can view this sort of thing, but what Admiral Kurd does in his video is he takes each book and he counts up the number of chapters by points of view, and then he also takes the amount of words that George averages per chapter, and then he sees George making longer and longer chapters, and so he kind of projects this idea of about 600 word chapters, and then uses various estimates on how many chapters each POV would get. There is one big fundamental problem I have with his analysis, and that is in his analysis, he counts A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons as a single book. And this is largely because the fandom does this. And that and also because it's, you know, the two halves of the story, the two halves to the sequel to a Stormer of Swords. However, just because there's reading orders and all of this kind of stuff, and just because it's two halves of a sequel, doesn't make it one book. A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons is not one book. It is not one book in the sense that George put in filler material in both books to pad them out to get to his word counts. And that's just the nature of things. When he talked about writing these books, he even like mentioned, especially when he was talking about the John story, he's like, well, I'd planned the John story to be short, but now that I have all this breathing room, I can expand on the John story quite a bit. And we saw him expand on the Tyrion story and the Dany story and such. He felt he had breathing room, so he wasn't efficient with his writing. And so people say, oh, it feels like there's a lot of filler in Brienne. It feels like there's a lot of filler in Cersei. It feels like there's a lot of filler in Jon. It feels like there's a lot of filler in Dany. It feels like there's a lot of filler in Tyrion. There is. There just factually is. And that filler wouldn't have existed if it were one book. And so it's not accurate to look at A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons as a single book. It was never intended to be it was intended to be a single book, but not as it is, you know. He would not have put that many chapters in if he was forced to put it in one book. That's just the way it is. So that's like the primary criticism I have of the analysis. Is it and granted, you know, certain simplifications have to be made, but what Admiral Kirk does is he kind of has this high projection column. So if you go to the Winds of Winter high projection, what he does there is he says, okay, if we count A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons as a single book, and we look at the number of chapters everybody has in those two books, that's the high projection on how many chapters they'll have in the Winds of Winter. And then we multiply it by 6,600 and we get some enormous, crazy word count. You know, and that's just, and he admits that no one would do that. Like, you're not going to have 12 chapters for Cersei in the Winds of Winter. And then on the low the Winds of Winter projection account, he takes that number and he says, what's the smallest amount of chapters each of these people ever had? So for instance, Dany once had 5 chapters in A Clash of Kings. That could be the lowest amount for Dany. And he kind of does the same thing. And he gets another ungodly high number on how many words and pages would be in the Winds of Winter. And then he kind of goes manually and he says how many he kind of thinks based on each character. And then he gets to the end and he's like, it's still way too high. It's not going to fit. And so then he reduces it down to, okay, maybe not the projected growth, but say the same chapter length that A Dance with Dragons and A Feast for Crows was, which is about 6,000 words a chapter. And he gets too high. And then he kind of goes, okay, well, what if we look at what the sample chapters are, which is a shrinkage in the size to about 5,600 words. And then he kind of, it squeaks in 79 chapters, 5,600 words a chapter. It squeaks in at about 425,000 words, which is like just the maximum amount you can actually have in one book before publishing companies like screw with you and say we can't do it. So it's just, now I would say that the other thing that he fails to do here, that is assuming Jon is a POV. I think that he puts in here, low estimate, maybe we could have Jon be five POV chapters. You can zero that out. There's a lot of things you can lower. You can lower Tyrion, that sort of thing. You can lower Dany some. And in fact, let's do our own little exercise on how many chapters you think it can really take to finish this up. Okay, so if I go Let's bring up, oh, not that. Let's bring up numbers. Okay. Okay. So here I have the same list that Admiral Kurd used. Let's try to, let's do a, let's try to get a zoom in, get that a little bigger. And let's go through these. So for the Winds of Winter, how many chapters does Dany need? You know, I could say, okay, well, we could do one in Vastoth Rock, one in Karth, one back in Marine, one in Volantis. That's like a minimum of 4. And then let's say, let's give her one more, maybe on Dragonstone or Pentos or something like that. But I think you can get out of Winds of Winter with 5 Dany chapters. Tyrion. I think the problem is that George has already put in a couple Tyrion chapters in the Battle of Fire. You could have one more for the Tyrion in the Battle of Fire, and then try to have really limit it down and try to have 3 more Tyrion chapters for the whole book. You can try to kind of get him at 6. Jon, let's zero it out. Bran, we could have him be 3. Sansa, we know that we're going to have at least one for the. We already have one introing the tournament. She has another at the tournament. Let's have a couple more in her story. I think 4 is realistic. Arya, I understand that George claims that he has a novella of Arya chapters already done. I understand. But I literally don't think you need more than 3 chapters for Arya. Like, I don't. Prologue, epilogue, give them 1 each. Jaime, the thing is it's combined with Brienne. So I think you could probably get 2, maybe 4 for Jaime. Sam, he's got a big lot of stuff going on with him, but let's see if we can try, I don't know, something like 4 for Sam. Cersei, I don't think you can do less than 5 for Cersei. There's just so much with regards to, her in King's Landing, and maybe, say she escapes King's Landing when young Griff takes over. Maybe you could get it to 5. Brienne, she's combined with the Jaime story, so let's keep her down to 2. Aeron, I think you can. We already have one for the battle, and then one maybe for an aftermath of Aeron. We have 3. Victarion, we have 1 in the battle. Maybe we can have two more. Arianne, we already have 2. Do 1 for the battle, and then probably a couple more. Because she's with John Con and everything. She's probably up at 5. Asha, we've got her battle, but let's keep her down at 3. 2 more. Ariohota, I mean, I'd like to have more Ariohota. I mean, but let's say the minimum amount of Ariohota you do is 2 realistically, but I'm saying for our Winds of Winter it might be more. Quentin, some people think he's dead. Some people think he's alive. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to Ario and Quentin. Barristan, he already has 2 chapters. You could maybe have 1 more for him. Even if you don't kill him, just give him 1 more chapter. John Con, you got to have some battle, and then maybe a couple more. Give him 4, and then the Mel story at the wall. Have her have something like, did I somehow not put Davos in here? Davos needs to be in here. Let's give Davos a minimum of 3 and a Mel something like 5. Okay. This gets us to, what are we up to? Come on, let me sum this. Come on. What? How am I getting error on that? Come on. Jesus. How am I getting error on this? What is your major malfunction? What is your major malfunction? Sum. And we get to, oh my God. How? Is this like every time we like you try to do something with these with a spreadsheet, it does something like this? What's wrong? What's wrong? I'll go one by one. Sum. And that gets us to 69 chapters. Okay. 69 times about 6,000 words per chapter gets to 414,000. So about the length of Dance. Okay. However, let's try to make some room here. Okay. Let's try to make some room. Because what we're doing in our fanfic is I think we can shave down the Tyrion. Okay. Shave down the Tyrion to 5. Okay. And then shave down the Jaime. Can I shave down the Jaime? Let's shave down the Mel to 3. And then we can up the Quentin to 3, up the Aereo to 5. And then we can shave Jaime down to 3 because we got Brienne. So we got that story. We got 5 things for that. So Barristan. We could lose Barristan. We can shave Barristan down to, let me see what oh, I forgot Theon. Fuck. He's fucking Theon. Let's get Theon. Let's do Theon 3. Okay. I totally fucking forgot Theon. All right, so what's going on here? All right, let's redo this sum here. Okay, let's see. We can bring Cersei down to 4. There we go. John Con 4. Do we need John Con 4? Because we already have Ariane. But we've already done, in this fanfic, we've already done 2. So we still only want... Let's see if I can... I forgot Theon. All right, that's 73. It's pretty high. All right, let's do some more shaving here. Okay. So let's we gotta get John. Maybe only one more John Con chapter. Let's shave down John Con. Shave down. No more Barristan. No more Barristan as a point of view. And then Can we shave down? We're down to 70. Can we shave down Tyrion to? Can we shave down Tyrion to 4? I don't know. It's gonna be pretty tough. Shave down. Shave down Brienne to 1. Let's see here. Ayo gotta go. He's taking pages away from real stuff. We can shave Aereo down to 4. Davos? I mean, shave Aereo down, because we already got 2 Aereos. I could see shaving Aereo down to 4. But that's 40. Yeah. So Jaime and Brienne together have a 5er. The wall story. We've got Mel and Davos, and if Asha comes up, or Theon, you've got plenty of wall coverage. Jon Con and Arianne are covering the same story. So I think this is all doable. I think this is a doable amount here. Okay, Dany 5. You could probably even shave Dany to 4. You could probably shave Dany to 4. Okay, Vaes Dothrak, Karth, Meereen, Volantis, and then just have her ending, leaving Volantis for Westeros and leave it like that. You could probably shave Dany to 4. Let's do that. We already have Tyrion 3. So Tyrion. It's hard to shave. It's hard to have. I could possibly see shaving Tyrion to 4, but only because I have let's keep Tyrion to 5. Brienne 3. Okay. Sansa 4. Okay. Arya 3. Yeah. All right. Jaime 3. Okay. Samuel 4. Okay. That works. Cersei 4. Brienne 2. Yes. Aeron 2. Victorian 3. Yes. Arianne 5. Yeah. Okay. I can't see Arianne having less than that. Asha 3. You might be able to shave. I don't know. Quentin 3. Barristan. No more chapters from Barristan, just not as a point of view. And then Jon Con 3, because he already has 2. 1 more with the rest from Arianne's point of view. Yeah, okay. Mel 3. Davos 3. I could see maybe shaving another Davos, or shaving another Davos and another Theon. But that is 69 chapters. And so 69 times an average of 6,000 is 415. Yeah. I don't think our chapters are. I think right now the fanfic is averaging about 5,600 words per chapter. They're very in different directions. I mean, some are like in the 9,000, some are in the 3,000. But you could definitely, if it's 5,600, then it's only 386,000. So I think this is a very doable amount here. Trimming everybody back. Dany at 4, Tyrion at 5, Jon at 0, Bran 3, Sansa 4, Arya 3, prologue, epilogue, Jaime 3, Samuel 4, Cersei 4, Brienne 2. Might be able to shave. Nah, I don't think you can shave. I don't think you can shave Cersei anymore. Brienne 2, Aeron 3, Victorian 3, Arianne 5. Yes. I think this is very doable. I think this is a very doable number. 69 chapters. I think this is a doable amount, and that's reasonable. Because we're just, it's cutting the point of view. It's cutting Jon and eventually future Barristan as a point of view, and then And I got some surprise, whatever surprise. Maybe there'll be surprises. Maybe people will die that you don't know will die. Maybe some Samuel will die. Who knows? Who who knows? Maybe Jamie will die. We don't know. Okay, let's get into it a little bit here. We're gonna make it fit. But there it is. I think 69 chapters might work. Is Lemon Cloak's Lemon Cloak's lemon cloak a gold cloak from the gold cloaks? Save five times fast. I don't think so. I think they're if anything, a cloak that is lemon color would get darker and more golden over time as it got dirtier. And they would think it was gold rather than it being like lemon. I think it's very difficult for like a gold cloak to become lemon colored versus a lemon colored cloak to become gold. So no, I don't think it's a gold cloak. I think it's a lemon cloak. And that he wears it because it's lemon. But no, I don't think it's a gold cloak's cloak. Will Gendry's bullhorn make a return? I think that's the Gendry's bullhorn is bull helm will definitely return. I mean, Dunson. So Arya is in Bravos, and the Mountain's men were said to have in the epilogue of a Dance with Dragons. Kevin says, "Oh, why don't you take the Mountain's men to Bravos?" And we see Raph the Sweetling in the Mercy Sample chapter, and she kills Raph the Sweetling, and she takes him off his death list. I think it's pretty. I think it's probable that Dunson also came to Bravos, and that Arya will be seeking out Dunson, and Dunson will have the helm. So I think it's not only do I think it's going to make a return, I think it's going to return in the next Arya chapter. I think the next Arya chapter is probably Arya taking out Dunson, and so I think that's absolutely what's going to happen. But the Brotherhood's major moves. A lot of people. It depends which Brotherhood. Do you mean like there's two factions of the Brotherhood? The Lady Stoneheart faction. Some people think that somehow she will go to Devin Lannister's wedding, and there'll be a second Red Wedding with the Freys, and she'll end up killing all the Freys and things like that. I know this is like the fan theory, and it's somewhat supported by the fact that the show had Arya killing a bunch of people, and killing a bunch of Freys in a mass fashion. But I don't know how it would actually play out. I don't know who would be the point of view. Like, are you bringing Jaime and Brienne along with them for this wedding to have everyone as prisoners to view everything, to view all these people dying? Are they really killing a bunch of women and children in order to try to get rid of the Freys? It never sat with me well, the Red Wedding 2.0 idea, because I'm just like, okay, you have this idea that you want to kill off all these Freys, but who's going to be viewing it, and what's going to be the action? How quickly is this wedding going to happen? We haven't heard about the wedding being prepared. Maybe weddings can be prepared quite fast, or quite in a hasty fashion, but I just don't know how Brienne and Jaime would view the thing, and why they would be dragged along and stuff like that. So I don't know. As for Greenbeard's Edric Dane faction. We have no idea what they're doing. Swampy Meg. They're sitting in the neck apparently. So we they kind of need a character to somehow go to the neck, and run into them. But who's going to do that? Asha, Theon, Davos. It's hard. It's hard to imagine it. But I think it's one of these dangling plot threads that George has no plan for. I've come up with some ideas on what I would do, like maybe have Theon or something on the way, or some being sent somewhere, Davos being sent somewhere, but and run into this band. But it's very difficult to think, like, how are you gonna wrap them up? Are we gonna have the return of Mage Mormont and people like that, who are also missing in the neck? Hallis Mullen, Ned's bones, like all these different things. Howland Reed, it's so much that there's no way that George can actually bring them all back. But we have to figure out how to do as much as we can for the fanfic. If B plus L equals J, Starkcest or abuse, could the others want to double Stark the way the double Targs seem to yield special genes? Could this be the reason for Craster's sons? So so Starkcest is a theory based on the fact that Ned's leap in logic that Cersei was having an affair with Jaime is ridiculous. He should not have made that leap. He was finding that, yes, okay, Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, they're not Roberts. That is true. But that's proven through his book and his super sleuthing. But there's no reason to believe that the father would be Jaime. There's nothing in the text that leads Ned to believe this. It's a big leap. Like, Cersei could have been having an affair with anyone, Preston Greenfield, Aerys Oakheart, Lancel. Like, there's so many other people that she could have been having an affair with that could have been the father. That Aaron Santigar. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no it's a really big leap that George that Ned makes, that it's Jaime. And so the Starkcest is on this idea, well, because Ned's mind was on incest, because Brandon and Lyanna were fucking, that's why he leaps that way so quickly. And so now the idea is, could Brandon and Lyanna be the father of Jon? I'm trying to think, like, when Lyanna is kidnapped. I mean, and then the thing is like, if it means, because Lyanna is kidnapped before the war begins, and the war lasts, somewhere around 13 to 14 months, it means that she's somehow having a second baby when she's dying at the Tower of Blood in her bed of blood, or she's been just sitting in that bed for months and months and months or something. So it's a little, logistically speaking, it's a little hard for B plus L to equal J. Unless Jon is not at the Tower of Joy. Like, maybe Jon is in Starfall and a different baby is at the Tower of Joy, and he somehow, the B plus L baby is down there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this logistically is possible. I mean, there's a lot of combos that are possible, but I don't know about the B plus L equals J. Um, but yeah, they're looking for special genes. I mean, I think if the idea is um, that yeah, they were looking for special genes, but and I suppose like Stark incest would produce special genes just as easily as Targaryen incest would produce special genes. So, I mean, I think a lot of people do think that Rhaegar and Lyanna or whoever, right, were trying to produce a prophecy baby based on special genes, and thus, you kind of see even in the past other Targaryens choosing families with special genes, like Aegon the Unworthy choosing to breed with Brackens and Blackwoods, um, and so, trying to produce some sort of special baby. So, I mean, I think yeah, they were trying to have. I think the special genes aspect might be true. I just don't know if logistically we can get R plus L to equal J. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay. Um, I hope Preston does the Matt Smith Morbius dance some way. Like I just start a stream and it's me doing that shirtless. I don't think you guys want to see me shirtless. Um, can Wyman manually fit into Yellow Dick? No. Is Yellow Dick already dead? Yeah. Huge problem zooms out to show one projected area chapter. Yeah, the Admiral Kurd, he just assumed that Hotal was going out and getting killed by Darkstar, just to sort of like end that plot line. I think later in the video he says that maybe there could be more if like one character captures another or something like that, and they're traveling together. But I think he was like trying to limit it to one. Um, um, there's a whole novel to tell Daenerys' time in the Dothraki Sea. Yeah, I once had this big joke that like the next book comes out and it's all new POVs. It's about like some summer islander and somebody from Noth. Um, unruly trial point of view. Cersei can have 2 to 3. Sansa 2 to 3. Do we really need Jamie? Brienne has that covered, but I do like Jamie's points of view. The thing is with Cersei, we kind of need a lot of King's Landing stuff talked about before John Con takes over, and she's the only one that can do that. When you're talking about like the introduction of the Sand Snakes, and then you have to have her trial by combat, and perhaps Marjorie's death, and then her Cersei escaping, all these sorts of things, kind of Tommen's perhaps death, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in King's Landing that kind of has to happen, um, that you kind of need a POV on, and Cersei is it. And Sansa, she has to do something with that army at some point. So, we're got to have something. Kind of have something. Sigh, it's time for me to reread Asha and Carl's scene. It's good. It's good. It's a good scene. Good scene. The Carmine. So the Asha chapter, by the way, will be out this week, probably Tuesday. Carmine read it and he was very excited about the Asha chapter. He really liked it. He made me feel really good. Nobody thinks that Quentin is alive. Here's the thing: is George left the door open because he didn't know if Quentin was alive. That's the truth of it. No LR team chapter. These feel like insanely low numbers given the pace of the sample chapters. Is 40% of Tyrion's story really going to be dedicated to not even fighting the Battle of Fire? You're absolutely right that based on the sample chapters, the plot is moving forward at a snail's pace. Like, absolutely. Like I say, like can George fit the Winds of Winter in the Winds of Winter? No. But the but it can be done. As for Quentin, like, Quentin being alive, Quentin provides very interesting, kind of some important aspects to the story, in my opinion. One, he provides a POV inside Marine, and two, he provides a POV to bring a dragon back to Westeros. If you want to split it, like, I always believe that the dragons need to be split up. Otherwise, why have 3 dragons? And so, you have Victarion take one, you have Quentin take one, and then you can have Dany have one. And then they go their different directions. Having Quentin die, you have no point of view on the inside of Marine. None. So, like, and also, like, what are you going to do with those 2 dragons? You just have Victarion capture both of them? Then what's the point of having 3 dragons if they're not doing 3 different things? The Winds of Winter should be 2 volumes, same as A Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons. I agree. I think any way that we can get written material, the better. But I think when people say, like, oh, can you split the Winds of Winter up? I think it's telling. I think if George were really as far along on the Winds of Winter as he claims, and has completed several characters, like, people claim that he's completed Tyrion, or or through various words, people infer that George has completed Tyrion, and that he could somehow, like, release the book or release the early chapters in the late chapters, or release some points of view or whatever. I don't think that George has completed that many points of view, and I think that I think he probably wants to go back and edit early chapters too. I think he's not anywhere prepared to split the book, and he doesn't. So when people say, like, oh, can't he split the book? I don't think he's capable of doing it. I think if he were capable of doing it, I think he would have done it. Like, 14 years, like, come on, like, 14 years, everyone on his back. He'd be like, fine, I'll split the books. I mean, put yourself in his position. If you were sitting on this massive amount of material and you could split the books, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you, to get your publisher and all these people off your backs, and then just, buy yourself some more time? Like, why wouldn't you? I think he can't split the books because he's incapable of splitting the books. Like, he doesn't have completed points of view, and he doesn't know how to complete points of view. I just don't think he's capable of doing it, because I don't think he's anywhere close. But that's my opinion. Oh, if you had to reduce the number of points of view in a Game of Thrones, what is the minimum number for that book for it to still work? Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, let me bring up the the chapters here. Okay. So here's the chapter list for A Game of Thrones. And now we can start from the beginning that we can say, okay, well, Sansa was never supposed to be a point of view and she was added. So can we cut Sansa? Certainly Sansa 1 can be done. Sansa 1 is the direwolf incident. Could we do that from Arya's point of view? Absolutely. She could be watching her back at camp and then leave on her own, and then we could definitely do Arya from we could definitely do Sansa 1 from Arya's perspective, and it wouldn't be as good, but we could get to the same place. And then Sansa 2 could be done from Ned's perspective because it's just the tourney. And then Sansa 3 is again Sansa 3, Sansa 4, Sansa 5. These are all King's Landing perspectives, because Ned's in prison for a lot of it. But could we get away with having less? It'd be harder. It'd be hard, but I think in Sansa 6, once Ned is dead and he is in prison, it's very difficult to do King's Landing. But you could say, okay, let's get Tyrion. We could march Tyrion to King's Landing faster after the Green Fork. So you could probably cut Sansa. I don't think it would be as good because Sansa is a brilliant perspective in a Game of Thrones. But you could probably get away with having no Sansa. And then is anyone else cuttable? I mean, Cat. Could you cut Cat? Because she's in Winterfell, then she's in King's Landing, and then she's with Tyrion. And then after that, though, she's following Robb. And like what she does with Robb is pretty essential, and you can't really do that. You might be able to inversely cut Tyrion. Because Tyrion is at King's Landing, then he's with Jon, then he's with Catelyn. And he has a short little battle on his own, but you might be able to somehow do that from Catelyn's perspective. It's considering there's only 8 POVs, like it's a pretty tall order to cut any of them. Jon obviously is on the wall by himself for most of his story, so you can't cut Jon. I mean, Tyrion's there a little bit, and could you cut Ned? I don't know how you get all the small council stuff from Sansa's perspective, or Arya's perspective. Could you cut Arya? If you cut Arya, you need Sansa. I think Arya might be the easiest to cut. But I don't think you can really do it. I don't think you can really get low. I don't think you can get lower than 7 or 6 to make the Game of Thrones. You could make an argument for 6, maybe. You could make an argument for cutting Tyrion and cutting Sansa, or cutting Tyrion and cutting Arya. You might be able to get the whole story told, which is weird, right? Cut Tyrion, right? Cut Arya, but who's doubled? What points of view are around? It's a fun little exercise. Could it be done? But I think That'd be an interesting story if you could try to tell Game of Thrones in 6 points of view. How would you do it? That's a fun little story. How would you do Game of Thrones at 6 points of view? Um, because I think it gets really hard. Like getting it down to seven, it's workable. Six is like really challenging. But that's a fun question. Is could you do it with six? Would you cut who would you cut? Like Sansa or Arya? Like one of them, and then could you cut Tyrion? Could you cut Tyrion? Like Tyrion or Catelyn? Like which one would you cut? And I'm talking logistically, not like who's your favorite because everybody fucking hates Catelyn, but like logistically speaking, it might be easiest to cut Tyrion. Um, who watches Shireen burn? Who says Shireen's gonna burn? I know everybody want, but it would have to be like if it were George's plan to have Shireen burn, you've got Mel there, right? But you know, um, is Barristan a Varys agent? Ned 70 reports to Varys. Here's the thing: is the Barristan is of course like literally working for Varys, but like, is he an agent in the sense that like he knows the evil that Varys is doing and is clandestinely doing things for him? And the answer is no. Like we're in Barristan's head, and Barristan is a fucking idiot. Like it's he's very clearly not like an agent in a sinister sense like that. Even though he very literally was working for Varys. And he doesn't think about Varys very much in his point of view, but um, was Barristan reporting to Varys before? We have no evidence of that. Um, but I'm trying to think. Ned 7, who reports what? Like what happens in Eddard 7? That you're thinking about. Oh, the morning of Sir Hugh. The problem is that we already have an explanation for how Varys knows everything, and that is that he has his little birds and he has access to all of the walls and secret passages. So every conversation that happens in King's Landing, um, Varys can be there. Like or a little bird can be there in the walls. Like there is not a single conversation that happens that you cannot just say, okay, Varys knew it. Like because of little birds. Like so he doesn't really need Barristan as an agent when he already has his little birds, who are everywhere hiding in the walls. So he doesn't need to have Barristan as an agent, and Barristan certainly never thinks about Varys, you know, um, or anything like that. So, um, do you think Davos's religious awakening is a reflection of George R. R. Martin's current thoughts on religion? Maybe he gets older, he's giving faith a second chance. It's not uncommon for people to experience that. Certainly not uncommon, but I've never seen George R. R. Martin say anything um, positive about religion. Like, um, I've never heard him talk about getting back into faith or believing in God. He's always kind of said that he's an atheist or an agnostic, and all of his writing has portrayed religion in a pretty stark negative light. The most you could sort of say is that George Comp like thinks that maybe religion gave primitive man some inspiration for organization and building things, but Like if you look at like his story Sand Kings or something. But I don't think we have any evidence of him um, thinking about religion positively. As for like Davos and his religious awakening, I mean, it doesn't really. The Davos story. I know people love Davos, but Davos's story in A Dance with Dragons is kind of a big failure. It He's not a character. He is Ariel Hota in A Dance with Dragons. He just sits there as people talk to him. He doesn't think about the mother at all. His whole story with her just fizzles out and isn't talked about post A Storm of Swords. So no, I don't think that George like was thinking about it. No, I mean, like, yeah, he had Davos like have a religious awakening, and become, but I don't think it has any sort of like positive spin to it. Um, I mean, you can think about like after, if you're thinking about the Faith of the Seven and Faith of the Seven being a stand-in for Catholicism, I mean, the Sparrow movement is in A Feast for Crows like after that, while his religious awakening is in A Storm of Swords. So it's not really it's not, it's not something I see from George. George has never I've never seen George say anything positive about religion. Um, Except that he thinks that it's fascinating and that they built some churches and stuff. Um, um, I don't know if you read much of his work, but it's kind of wild that we're getting a new Thomas Pynchon book before Winds. Let's see, what book is coming out from Thomas Pynchon? Wow. Okay. Is he? Oh, that's right. He wrote Mason and Dixon. That was the book that everybody in college was trying to get through. In my college, yeah. Against the Day, Inherent Vice, Shadow Ticket. Set in 1932, centers on a Milwaukee private investigator who is set adrift in Hungary while is tracking the heiress to the Wisconsin cheese fortune. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of funny. Um, the Wisconsinites. The we'll see how much Miller beer is in that too. Wisconsin cheese fortunes. That's funny. Oh, that's interesting. No, I mean it's we got Harper Lee's book after she died, right? I do wonder if we're ever going to get those J.D. Salinger posthumous stories or things like that. Um, yeah, I mean we're getting everything before Winds. Winds is never coming out. Come on. Did you ever hear the theory that Lyanna warged Rhaegar to fuck herself? Except for obvious major contradictions, it answers a lot of other threads and it annoys me. I mean, that's weird. It's really fucking weird. Obviously, only Bran has been able to warg another human being, him being the most powerful warg ever. Even Varamir Sixskins can't do that and it failed at that. So it's really weird that Lyanna would be able to. Um, Now, as for the weirdness of like fucking herself is a little weird, but George has, I mean, the wild card stories get pretty fucked up with regards to like body swapping and people fucking each other. I think Dr. Tachyon gets Dr. Tachyon gets his does he get raped by his own grandfather or something? Raped, something weird. It's a lot of craziness there. I mean, George gets into this kind of weird shit, but um, yeah, I just I don't know if Lyanna has the power to do that. Um, Having the Battle of Ice ending with the Boltons being crushed by the sealing snow while Stannis makes his way in is very anticlimactic George R. R. Martin thing. That is true. It is very George R. R. Martin anticlimactic thing. Most of his books end in a very anticlimactic fashion, but we're not at the end. That's the thing, right? Um, I mean, Dying of the Light is you think there's going to be this big um, fight between the Braiths and Dirk, and the Braiths end up like killing each other, and then the battle he has with Brett and Braith is off screen after the story is over. The Armageddon rag, you think going to be this big, huge, demonic invasion that never happens. We just get some ghosts, some ghosts of Janis Joplin. Fever Dream, we're led to believe that like the Fever Dream has been put back on the water, and there's going to be this huge showdown on a steamboat, and in fact it hasn't been fixed up at all. So yeah, there definitely George loves the anti-climax thing. And yes, I think that the ceiling is I don't know if George planned it, but he gardens these different things. So he gardens a way to kill everybody really quick if he wants, and so I think it'd be, I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting if Stannis just like says, nah, we're not going to take Winterfell. Let's just let everybody like freeze and starve there. It's, maybe I should just retreat. Um, Tay Colma is the funniest dude in Andor. He is, he's certainly like, he certainly makes weird facial movements and everything. He seems like he should be a comedic actor, but he doesn't really do anything funny. And Mon Mothma is supposed to be kind of still lusting after her ex, right? But he does make a lot of like weird facial movements and everything. Do I think he's the funniest dude in Andor? Right now, the funniest dude in Andor is Deidre and her boyfriend or fiance. God damn it! What's Deidre's fiance's name? He's fucking Cyril. They're right now the funniest. Though, I mean that I wish there was more. Like in the first 3 episodes, I wish there was more of Deidre and Cyril. They're so good. And meeting Cyril's mother again was just a fantastic scene. Man, fucking Andor is great. Oh man, can't wait for the episodes this week. Man, we're never gonna have it this good ever again. We're never going to have like we're never like let's be honest. We're never going to have Star Wars as good as Andor ever again. Like come on, like it's never going to happen. This is it. This is the best we're ever gonna get with Star Wars. They're never going to recreate this lightning in a bottle. It's which point of views die in the Winds of Winter to make it all fit? I mean, you don't need to kill people. You just have to end them as POVs. We don't need to have Mel and Davos be POVs, or John be a point of view, or Barristan be a point of view, or if the characters start coming together, or you can just alternate them. So once the storylines come together, like if Tyrion is always there, like Resnack Mo Resnack is with Dany for nearly all of her chapters in A Dance with Dragons. Do we need a Resnack Mo Resnack point of view? No. It's the same thing. Like once Tyrion is next to Dany or whoever, whatever, you don't need as many chapters. The story is being told. Um, if Barristan is with Victarion, you don't need as many chapters. If that if Arion is with John Con, you don't need as many chapters. They can start alternating. Um, and that's about. But yeah, I mean, I think the ones on the chopping block are obviously um, the ones that are on the chopping block that like the fans think are like days are numbered are Barristan because he died in the show. Um, John is a POV, and then people think, okay, maybe we can kill off Aaron because he didn't appear in the show very much. Um, and then some people think maybe Theon's story is done, things like that. But I don't, I think with the fanfic, I think we're gonna have some surprises, and I think the characters who die will surprise you, and the characters that live on will surprise you. So I don't want to give away who I'm gonna like kill in the fanfic and how and who I'm gonna have live in the fanfic too much. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Um, is there a reason he only wants 7 books so he can finish? But I mean, that's that's about it. I mean, 7, I guess. Faith of the Seven Kingdoms, but um, that was it was never his original intention. His intention was 3. You Um, Hey Preston, halfway through Dreams, was loving it so far. Only one issue. What are Josh's P spots supposed to be? Googling only leads to prostate. I think once you finish the book, you'll find out. These things are revealed, but some people figured it out just reading the first chapter. Like, oh yes, but um, it's a fairly important part of his character, and it'll it's straight up revealed to that this mystery later on. So you just keep reading and you'll get to it. But it's funny because once enough people like get through Dreams in India, like the Dreams of Ghosts and Indians, like I would love to sit down and like talk about it and go through it in the same way I go through other chapters and stuff like that and explain like um, where these ideas came from and what kind of stuff is going on in the background and stuff like that. But yeah, but yes, that is a mystery that you will have answered if you keep reading. Um, Love the Davos chapter. Brought to mind a rural community I lived in historically that they let outsiders climb in a window and introduce no blood. Um, yeah, I mean it's part of the wildling culture, that you have to get that new blood in, and I think it's just a natural part of humanity, that there are going to be outbreeders and there's going to be inbreeders, and both outbreeders and inbreeders are needed. Like everybody needs um, the inbreeders and to maintain the traditions of society, but you need outbreeders to bring in new ideas. You need inbreeders. You need outbreeders to bring in new genes, but new inbreeders to maintain some sort of consistency and things like that. I think, maybe everybody is an inbreeder or an outbreeder. Like I've definitely met like, I had a friend, he's blonde hair, blue eyes, and he only found women who had blonde hair, blue eyes attractive. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, right? Because, I have very different tastes. I hate myself. So I'm attracted to people that don't look like me at all. Um, but I've met a lot of different people. Like I had a friend in college who was an Indian guy, and he's like, I only find Indian women attractive. It's not that I have anything against interracial dating. I just have never really found white girls attractive. And I'm like, oh, it's odd, but okay, all right. Some people are just like that. Fine. I accept that. I accept it. But you know, inbreeders and outbreeders. So I think an isolated society like Skagos would be looking for some outbreeders. Mm, mm, mm. Um, hmm. Been reading history, and most revolts happen after things go to shit. What would have to happen for a preemptive revolt, like something justified because people see where things are going? Huh. It's a fascinating question, Treebird. Um, because you wish like people had foresight and would see uh, a problem ahead of time and stop it. I mean, there are some cases of like the government stopping things long before they became problems. For instance, like the ozone hole was something that the government recognized was a problem. They banned CFCs, and now we're actually seeing like the slow repair of the ozone hole, and it's a fantastic like actual success of government and society in general. Um, uh, we could say like, I'm trying to think of some other examples besides that where I mean, I suppose, people could say like the financial crisis of 2008, 2009 was, government acting. But these are like small groups of people like having foresight and wisdom about something and preventing a big disaster with action. For like the masses to see something coming and rise up. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's ever happened. Like, a group of experts, sure, but do the masses ever rise up prior to something horrible happening? Um, I don't know. I mean, right now we have some pretty bad policies that we kind of all know are going to lead to a depression in America. Like, and they're happening. Um, and no one stopped it, and we don't have people in the streets. Like, yeah, we have like some opinion polls like shifted around, probably because the stock market crashed and things like that, but no one's in the streets. No one's in the streets like stopping it, you know. When it's really interesting to hear that you only need like 3 or 4% of society to actually protest before like the leaders react and they actually like give in to the demands. But 4% of American society is fairly large, so it's you'd need all of those people taken to the streets. So yeah, it's a preemptive revolt, man. uh I don't know. The especially on a large scale with like so many people going to the streets before something happens. I don't think it's ever been done. That's I mean, it's a fascinating thing to think about, that people won't in a large sense like go to the streets, because going to the streets is like the point where it feels like a crisis. You're like, it's a crisis, we're all feeling it bad, and that we're going to go out to the streets. um but yeah, to if you're currently feeling comfortable, it doesn't feel like a crisis yet. So uh, what would happen I mean, you'd have to just convince people that they're already there, or I don't know, show visuals of something. But it's really difficult. I don't know if it can be done. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing that we're reactive, um, in the masses sense. That the only thing the only people that are capable of preemptively thinking about stuff are like, small cadres of thinkers. That's too bad. That's too bad. But you're right. You're right. The things really have to do really get bad before people actually protest and go out and try to change things. Um, yeah, why can't George R. R. Martin get more writers? I mean, I've recommended this. I think he needs a team of writers and consultants and stuff, but I just don't think it's a priority. I think that's the big thing, is that I think he has other things that are priorities, um, and that's just that's just the long and the short of it. Like, I don't necessarily think that the Winds of Winter is actually a priority. He brings it up a lot, but if it were a priority, he would hire consultants, have people sit down, work with him, get it done, but or sit down and write, but it's not. Um, what do you think? Sweet Robin will get the moon door? No, I think we're never seeing the moon door again, unfortunately. I mean, it's winter. They left the Eyrie. I don't think we're ever going back. I don't think we're ever going back. I think the Eyrie is gone. Moon door is gone. No one's getting thrown out the moon door anymore. Um, it's no more abortions, or which is what the moon door represents, and all that weird George R. R. Martin humor. But yeah, we're never going back. But maybe Sweet Robin can get a different moon door. Maybe we can get a different door to throw people out. Re-listen to your series, your Prepping for Winter Theon series. Do you think Theon will be drowned, resuscitated in the lake during the upcoming battle? No. I think Theon will be swapped out for Arnulf Karstark, and Arnulf Karstark will be killed in Theon's place, and that Theon will go on to do other interesting things. Theon is far too valuable to be killed. It's one thing, I understand that like characters aren't that smart, as they aren't as smart as the readers thinking about things, but Theon is so clearly valuable for so many reasons. One, he like knows the Dreadfort and how to get into the Dreadfort. He can be traded for the Galbart hostages. Asha Greyjoy needs him for a new Kingsmoot. There's like too many things that Theon is important for. Dagmar Cleftjaw thinks him as a son. Like, there's too many reasons that Stannis would want him alive. He's just far too valuable in the story. I can't even think of a more valuable hostage than Theon. It's overwhelming that you just be like, yeah, let's just kill him. Like, what were the Glover hostages, and Dagmar Cliffjaw, the Dreadfort, and all of this stuff, and the Kingsmoot? No. He's definitely not going to get killed. He's definitely not going to get killed. He's just too interesting of a character. This is the same reason why, like, George R. R. Martin planned on killing Victarion, and Victarion was too awesome. And I don't mean awesome in a good way. He's fucked up, but he's awesome in that he's just like so crazy. His chapters are so good that George R. R. Martin didn't want to kill him. And so it's the same. Theon's too good. He's too good of a character, and his plot is too good to kill him off now. No. That's no way. But drowned and resuscitated in the lake? No. I mean, first of all, there's no way Theon would survive that. I mean, Theon is pretty sickly. Throw him in, give him hypothermia and have him die. I mean, that lake is cold. No. Iridium, silvery white metal, milk glass, uncommon on Earth but abundant in meteorites. Age the death of dinosaurs, sounds like the sword Dawn. But does like what powers would iridium have? You know, um, right? Like why would you build something out of like why would you build a sword out of iridium? Keep in mind, like it has to be like better than steel, right? Um, People use it for spark plugs, electrical contacts, things like that. Um, but what good is it as a sword? Like what is it doing? Is it giving people electric shocks? That kind of stuff. George does have a story with it's this guy. The closest I could come to in finding like what maybe Dawn is there is a character from Wildcards, and here he is, and his name is Lohengrin, and Lohengrin is like this like basic, very honorable dumb knight. He's like so honorable that it's funny. It's kind of like Thor. Um, and he can materialize a protective energy that manifests as a suit of glowing white armor and a variety of different weapons, including sword, battle axe, and flail. It is unknown what exactly his armor is made of. The German scientists who first studied Lohengrin speculate it's a form of solidified light or possible ectoplasmic energy. Lohengrin simply refers to it as ghost steel. Okay. So this is the best I could come up, like I could find in his writing of like something similar to Dawn, where it's like it's a mysterious material of some sort that, um, you know, but at the same time, what does it help us figure out like what Dawn is like? Um, I mean, it could be like I say. I think we'd have to go in the realm of like found ancient technology, um, to figure out sort of what Dawn does and why it's advantageous to have it. The Dark Star believes that Arthur Dane's success was mostly from his sword. People say, "Oh, he's a great knight," and he says, "Oh, he had a great sword." Like that. That's what it took. Like Valyrian steel is light. Okay, it's so light I can fight better with it. Okay, great. But what is it about Dawn that makes the wielder even better? Is there some sort of ancient technology in it? Um, is it simply the material it's made of? We don't know, but I think it has to be something better than a meteorite or iridium or something like that, because that doesn't explain why it would be made into a sword, and it would be that's so great that it's been made into a sword. That like, I'm kicking butt because of this sword. We need that kind of answer, that kind of question answered. And so I think ancient technology is maybe uh, the the answer. But um, do you feel the sample chapters will be untouched? No, they'll probably go through some. I mean, if Winds ever came out, probably not. But if it ever came out, um, uh, it's I think that there'll be some minor changes to the sample chapters, but I don't think anything major. Um, just because he's done it. They've been to editors. Plus, the thing is actually George doesn't change chapters that much. Like when things are edited, when he sends stuff to the editor doesn't. The editor finds a few typos, but there's not much change from the editor. Like when George finishes something and feels it's good enough, it's mostly done at that point. I mean, it's true that like George was doing some readings of chapters with regards to like A Dance with Dragons, and then he shifted those around again. But I've never seen him like make major changes to like a I don't know, like something so publicly released. Like he made some he chopped around those Daenerys chapters that he'd released in his little booklet. Um, but I think he's fairly, they're fairly polished, the sample chapters. So I do think that the sample chapters would be fairly untouched. Um, you know, but yeah. Mm-mm-mm. No more points of view. It's all third person now. Maybe it'll all go first person. Uh huh. Uh huh. um, where do you think Littlefinger's schemes are going? I think he's. I mean, I had a whole series, the Littlefinger debt scheme. I mean, I think he was trying to um to get everybody um needing him because he owns them, uh, but and that he really did like think that he could put everything in Harry the Heir and own the Vale and then move on from there. Like I think it's perhaps he gives an honest answer to Sansa at the end that um he's going to control Harry the Heir, and then everyone will get behind Sansa, and they'll retake Winterfell, and then he'll get to marry Sansa as a stand-in for Cat and get everything he wants. Like it's that seems like a fairly logical result for him, and then everything falls apart because that's what happens. Sweet Robin doesn't die. Harry the Heir dies instead. But he does seem to want power and a redheaded Tully, and the question is like, does he believe in prophecy on top of that? Like, does he believe in prophecy on top of that? I don't know. There's certainly some weirdness to it all, like why George chose Bale the Bard and Baelish and things like that, and um, um, why Littlefinger is so crazy and so lucky, almost divinely lucky in the things he does. Um, Historically, he's based on this guy Cromwell, but there's not much to you know take from that. So it'd be interesting if he cares about prophecy in the end. But maybe he's looking for that red haired girl to who's lucky. I mean, he was thrown off by Sansa's hair. Because I did feel a little disappointed that in the end that Littlefinger in the show that Littlefinger just wanted to sit on the Iron Throne and have Sansa at his side. And it's like, is there more to it? Could he actually want is he actually thinking about prophecy? Huh. Have you heard Boston University season 8 antedates real season 8? What? What is this Boston University season 8? Game of Thrones? Virtual final season? What is this Boston University? I've never heard of this Boston University virtual final season. Students wrote, huh. Students wrote 6 scripts for season 8. Cast New York and Boston actors, then live stream a staged reading worldwide. April 2018. Huh. Um, I have never seen this. I have never watched this. This is the virtual final season. A staged reading. I mean, I will have to age restricted. Huh. All right. All right. I will have to read these and see if my opinion of them. I'd never heard about it before. Um that this actually they actually did this before the final season. I wonder if it's probably better, but I wonder if it's any, how they do it. Um um Resnack Mo Resnack. The name's so nice you say it twice. Yes. Great. I've got a now I've got it'll be interesting to read that. Oh, Preston, I'm so glad that you're doing well. Just want to check on you after not seeing your stuff in years. Not years, man. We've been doing shit for. um, I don't have eye color preference. Oh, we were back in the. I only date people with Tyrion's mismatched eyes. It's like 30 people on the planet. That's not that. That's not much. Um, Enough unemployment leaves people in the street. Tiananmen Square. The thing about Tiananmen Square is it just wasn't. I mean, it just wasn't big enough. It just wasn't big enough. I mean, you're talking like, it's a country of 1 billion people at that point. You needed, you know, needed a lot more. Um, I think he weirdly intended A Game of Thrones to be one book, A Clash of Kings and Dance of Dragons to be book 2, and The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring to be book 3 as his trilogy. I think it's more like A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords was book 1, because that's the War of the Five Kings. And then Daenerys' invasion would be book 2, which we're not even at yet. Like, Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons is this weird interlude to deal with the 5-year gap. So it's sort of like the winds of, the winds of winter, and even the winds of winter is kind of interlude. I mean, you could maybe argue that like the second half of the winds of winter would start beginning into his second book, and then the last book would be a dream of spring. But yeah, the entire original plan is just out the window. You just can't, you know, it's true that the show did kind of somewhat do that plan. I mean, if you look at their 8 seasons, they went the first Danny did get to Westeros at the end of season 6, so she's there. So she has season 7 is book 2, and season 8 is book 3. But I think at this point you need to have a couple things happening simultaneously. You need the others to start invading while Dany and Aegon are still having their Dance of the Dragons for it to all work. But yeah, that weird. That's interesting. If we stop having Arya chapters, the appearance of a mysterious girl in Casterly Rock only through Cersei's POV gets far more chilling. Well, that's true. That's true. Like the minute Arya leaves, if you have Arya the minute she leaves Bravos, stop being a POV. That's a pretty interesting idea. Arya no longer being a POV, and then you just have these like random killers showing up different places. It makes more sense if glass candles were actually made from hardened petrified wood sap, hence why they can burn and be used for communication. Children of the Forest could have made them also. If not, who can make them? So, I mean, my theory is that glass candles are made of silicon, and that they're actually like computer chips and like ancient technology of some sort. The or obsidian. I mean, they're made of obsidian, right? And obsidian it's not exactly silicon, but it's a lot of silicon in it. And certainly if a layman, like someone that doesn't know anything, like looked at a black silicon chip, okay, and didn't know better, he would just be like, oh, this is obsidian, right? It looks like the same weight and consistent, like same weight and color, or something like that. I mean, I understand that, like, okay, actual obsidian is made of silicon, oxygen, aluminum, sodium, but the idea is that, like, if you like if someone in the past were looking at this and they were trying to understand what this was made of, would they not think obsidian? Or black and oily stone or whatever. I mean, right? Like what would a person in the past looking at a chip or something made of a silicon chip, like what would they assume it was? And what would they assume it was made of? That was always my theory. But Um, I mean, the thing about like werewood sap. I mean, isn't werewood sap red um, instead of black? I mean, I guess what did they say that the glass candles? Some of them are green and some are black, um, but they're not red. I also don't understand the petrification thing. I mean, granted, maybe George doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Does George know what petrification is? But petrification isn't transmutation. Like that's not what it is. Like when people say like, "Oh, a tree is petrified, it becomes stone." No, like wood doesn't transmutate to becoming stone. Okay, you've got the cells of the plant, and they're filling with sediment. They're filling with stone, and then the tree itself, like the organic matter, is gone. So it's not that like organic matter is becoming stone, it's getting replaced with stone. So like there's nothing, this idea that like, werewoods can become stone when they're petrified. That's not what petrification is. You're not changing something to stone. Like it's not becoming stone. It's being replaced with stone over time. So I don't know about like petrification, but like hardened sap. It's an interesting idea. Hardened sap, though. I mean, maybe if I mean we don't know what the werewood is and what supernatural elements to it, but you'd think it would be red. I'm just saying, I think it'd be red. Maybe it could be the hardened. Oh no, because the it's blue. The shade of the evening trees are blue. Even D&D understood that the only one that is possibly qualified to kill Theon is a supernatural big boss. That is true. Theon's not. Theon's the night. It took the Night King to kill Theon. Um, George R. Martin admitted to adding things from his friend Robert Jordan. Certainly, language-wise, I think he borrows from Robert Jordan a lot. Um, what about Dragonbone as a sword? I mean, would it be light? What's PJ's take on older white men who visit Thailand on their own? Um, I mean, it's just what's my opinion on sex tourism? Uh, I mean, obviously, I don't think that anyone should be having sex with anyone underage. Um, but if two consenting adults want to transact money for services, I guess people can do that. Um, you know, um, totally out of the loop. Did he announce wins? No, Ash. No. You take it way too literally. Is Damascus steel one for one Valyrian steel? White metal literally falls from the sky. Don't overcomplicate it with tech. Um, I guess it's just that it's like I'm trying to get into George R. R. Martin's head. I mean, I understand what you're saying that like, you know, should Valyrian steel really give that much advantage for what it is? But I'm just trying to get in George's weird sci-fi head because George is really weird in sci-fi about stuff. I understand that he's like he tells people all the time, like, stop, it's just magic, it's just magic. But see, this person's like, Preston is so no magic, he'll die on the hill. And I don't, I understand that like George sits there and says, "Oh, it's magic," but I also know he's also like a weird anal guy who like thinks about these sorts of things, at least to some degree. Like, what is the actual sword? Like, what can it be? How can it magically, like, there has to be like some idea. I mean, like, even when he talks about his magic, like his telepathy with Varamir Sixskins, like, it's a very weird chapter where Varamir Sixskins goes into all of these rules and all of these traditions and all of this like way of you know going about things. Or even when Bran is with the three-eyed crow and they're talking about their ability to go into the tree and what it means and the evolution of stuff and who has these abilities, and with the eye colors um and all these different ideas. Like, he thinks about it, like, even if it's magic, there's a and say, like, in the end it's something that has no like basic grounding in science. But there's still a grounding in detail, a weird grounding in detail, where he has a massive backstory and about like what this is and how it works and how it bonds with people's minds. And um, like, it might be closer to Stormbringer from Michael Moorcock, or something like that. The costs of like what dawn is. So it's not, it's that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just like this one simple thing. Like, he probably has this like massive complicated like system on like the rules of how this sword works in some respect, other than it just being magical rock from sky. um, I mean, would it have, I mean, could meteorites like have inspired dawn? I mean, obviously, like, a lot of things seem to inspire dawn. I would say the Stormbringer probably inspires dawn. I would say that, like, um, King Arthur's sword, um, Excalibur, probably inspires dawn. All these special swords, inspire dawn. Um, but what is it? Like, what are the costs? How does it work on a fundamental level? Um, there has to be a little more to it than just that it's it's there. I mean, shoehorning ancient tech into something that doesn't necessarily need it. I don't think I'm shoehorning the ancient tech in. Like I say, like, is the wall, can they build the wall today? Can they build Storm's End today? So there's some sort of ancient technology, whether magical or science based, that allowed them to do things they can no longer do. You know, um, and it's just like, what that's already been in there. That's already established. I just don't why does it have to be, why the need for magic when there's not necessarily a need for magic, when you already have, like, is Mel's amulet, is that just magic? There's just some wizards who like cast some spells and fucking created the thing, and then she just had it. She just casts spells Because is that how Mel thinks in her head, that she just casts spells and magic just happens? Like, it's not, like, it's not how magic is viewed. It's not how supernatural things are viewed. Um, they there's weird details to all of it, and there's a lot of pondering on how something works and what the costs are and what the limits are of it and things like that. Oh fuck. Oh. I don't think anyone should have feelings. He's really coming in with hot takes. Yeah, you got to preface everything before people start like clipping your stuff. I like I say, my takes. It's amazing to me though, because I don't think I have very hot takes. Like, but it's amazing how like people are like, oh, Preston's just crazy on his politics or something. It's like I'm just a liberal, like believes in like really basic things like social programs and free trade and that's it. That our society should be more like Scandinavia. Like it's not really very crazy, but somehow it's viewed as crazy by some. So yeah, this idea that like yeah, as long as you're not having sex with underage people, like go and do what you want, and I don't care if you spend money on it or whatever. It's fun, like to some that's a crazy take. It's a crazy take. Um, I believe for a while now that Winds should be 2 volumes, each covering two of the four upcoming battles. One should adapted to be called Winds, and my fan name for the other is the Field of Fire. Not bad. I Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a fine name. Winds of Winter and Field of Fire, because then you get the duality of the two, ice and fire. That's the the but yeah, sadly that I don't know if George is. I don't think that George is capable of splitting the book. Um, so but I just don't think he's capable of splitting the book. I know that like it would be my dream. I would love it. I would love to have a book. Do you know like do you know how like different the channel would be is if like and like how much fun we'd be having like if we had a book, okay? Like I'd get to do a live stream where I just like read a chapter and we talk about that chapter and we get to analyze that chapter and just like if it had think of that if it had 50 chapters released like once a week for a fucking year, we could just be talking about a chapter a week for a year. It'd be fucking what if we just have all this material? It'd be so much fun. Oh man. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Pro capitalism. Preston says sex work is a-okay. Yeah, of course. I mean, sex work is work, man. Just yeah. I just read the Thousand Worlds stuff. Preston's probably overestimating George's sci-fi thing, but I understood after reading all the stories. Yeah, it's now granted it is a story that's from a long time ago now, but it's so weird now to think about everything in that sense because I'm thinking like George's last story in the Thousand Worlds was written in 1989, and Game of Thrones was written in started only 3 years later, and then finished like in 1996, 7 years later. And then Storm of Swords 99, So that's like 10-year horizon. And then you're getting up to like Feast for Crows is nearly finished. That's 2006. But you start thinking like the distance between the Thousand Worlds and a Feast for Crows is less than a Feast for Crows to today. like, you know, you kind of think of like George's sci-fi past as being well in the past. He's a different man now, but he wasn't that like it's been a much longer today. Like Feast for Crows to today is much longer than Feast for Crows to his sci-fi roots. Oh. Fit the chapters by cutting a list point of views. Arya becomes faceless. Jon becomes a ghost. Jon is a white. Dany goes mad a bit earlier. Bran, time travel left unresolved. Type rare chapters only. Yeah, you know, I mean, I think I've more or less figured out. I'll bring back what we talked about at the beginning here. But I think, you know, what we have here of like 69 chapters or so, I think this works fairly well. And I think you could tell the Winds of Winter in this, right? And taking it from another perspective, if we go to the Winds of Winter here, the Winds of Winter fanfic. You know, the first half of the book is dealing with all of the battles and Jaime and Cersei's trials by battle. And once you sort of like say, okay, well, what do we need to do to get to the end of the story? Well, we got to get Arya out of Bravos. We got to get Dany back to Westeros. You know, we got to get Arya back to Westeros. We got to get Dany back to Westeros. We got to get Bran south of the wall. We've got to get the others invading. We've got to get young Griff having nearly full control of the kingdom. You got to get, you know, Cersei maybe getting married off to or aligning herself with Euron and things like this. And I have a pretty good idea on where I want to bring everything, which is essentially like the gravity of Harrenhal is going to be pulling everyone, like everyone established, like everyone back to Westeros by the end of the book, and an established gravity of Harrenhal as something pulling all of the characters together. So the last book would be the gravity of Harrenhal pulling everything there. But, you know, using the rest of the story, like getting everybody like back and home. Yeah, I think that's doable. But man, it's I don't know if George writes that way. You know, George just kind of writes and meanders and writes another chapter and keeps going, and next thing you know, he's got too much material. The only part of the question about white men visiting Thailand is the white man part. He hates them. I mean, well, you know, everybody's got to fuck, whatever. It's fine. Whatever. White. Everybody's got to. Yes, it's magic. It's magic that makes a 400-year-old dust pile of woman into an extremely hot Dutch MILF. Yeah, but this is the show, man. Here's a bunch of things about the show that don't make any sense. Like, okay, why did Davos want Jon resurrected for no reason? Why did a woman who believed firmly in burning people to give them to the Lord of the Light, why did she walk off into the freezing cold to be frozen? Like when she had all belief that like the Lord of Light should be taking her. There's a lot of things that just don't fucking make sense about the show. And there's nothing in the story that says that she's 400 years old. I mean, in the books or anything like that. And she could just have a shoddy delusional memory about that anyway. But, um, you know, what social programs that are bankrupting the country? I don't think the country is anywhere close to bankrupt. So nothing seemed to be. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know what's wrong with the social programs. I mean, what's bankrupt? I mean, the country's not bankrupt. Um, Whoa, take it easy with the neoliberal communism. I think if anything, the last few months have proven is that neoliberalism fucking rocks. Like everybody's like, oh, these fucking neoliberals. Oh, goddamn Bill Clinton and his free trade. And then the minute people are like tariffs, the whole fucking world falls apart. And you're like, oh, maybe that free trade was a good thing after all. Like, right? Isn't that the whole thing? Like, isn't that so they, they're this big criticism, the big like Hassan Piker criticism of the Clintons was the fact that they're neoliberals. Everybody, oh, this dirty word neoliberal, which what does it mean? Like they're into free trade. And then, and all of a sudden everybody's like, okay, let's try tariffs. Whole world falls fucking apart. Wow, it looks like the neoliberals were right the whole fucking time. Man, gotta like Jesus Christ, this dirty word on the internet like forever. Oh, you fucking neoliberal. I guess they were right. I guess neoliberalism was the way to go. Because the minute you fucking put in a tariff, the whole world fucking falls apart. Jesus. Oh man. So have you ever wanted anything more than the winds of winter? Oh, I mean, the winds of winter would be great, but of course I've wanted things more. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things I want more, like some, some better politicians in Washington. Healthy kids. You know, um, uh, a clean environment. There's a lot of things I want more. Come on. Um, I don't understand this. I believe in democracy, high quality public services, free trade agreement, and labor camps for anyone who disagrees with me. I mean, aren't the camps aren't the conservatives the one like shipping people off to facilities? I don't understand this at all. Casimiro Goss Kyle, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like what do you like? Or like is like Scandinavia and the way like things exist in Scandinavia like is that where there's like people getting sent off to camps? I don't understand. Like what does that mean? Um, I don't get it. But da 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 da. Um, where are we? Okay. Am I making it to the end? Oh, did I see something? No, the Davos chapter isn't out. He's just talking about the summary, that the plot he's saying of it. The Davos chapter is not out. Um, Missed opportunity in the Ghosts and Indians, a dating site called Cree Harmony. sports channel called ESPN. Keep it going. Yeah, the funny thing about writing with in Ghosts and Indians was trying to leave out like pop cultural references and like modern technology and stuff like that. Um, like there's like not many references to telephones and things like that in it because you just want it to feel fresh no matter like when somebody reads it. I wouldn't want somebody to, these movies where you watch it and they're talking about MySpace, it's like immediately gets dated, and so you try to like keep it all out. But um would you do a book club for other George R. R. Martin stories? I mean, there was the Thousand Worlds book club that I did for many years, and I finished all the Thousand Worlds stories. You can find them on my chapter on my channel. But yeah, I went over fucking 20. I did. It was a series of what, like 20, 28, 27 or 28 videos. Um, but yeah, went through them. Went through them. Some people like them. Some people I use. They're a little funny, weird because I have a character in each one that I talk to as someone to talk off. Please don't take hot Dutch MILF Mel away from me, Preston. I she let's see. Um Carice Van Houten. She does have a child, so she is a mom. Okay. Okay. So she is a MILF. Okay. All right. I was just checking on the MILF status of her. Um Hassan the dumb tanky. Yeah, Hassan's like, as I say, Hassan's take on Ukraine is wrong. His like opposition to free trade is wrong. But for the most part, it's like I'm not going to agree with everybody on every issue. But for the most part, I don't like criticizing anyone left wing. I think it's a waste of time when there's so much to criticize on the right. I think you're wasting your breath. As long as they're still encouraging like to vote for a Democrat, they're fine. But um, yeah. Um, well, to be honest, the Clinton haters is just that we changed our economy to be based on importing manufactured goods. I mean, we'd gotten rid of the manufactured goods long before that. I mean, let's be honest. Like, um, I mean, I think there was a lot more agricultural stuff from NAFTA. I mean, it's true that like obviously there's going to be some manufacturing. Obviously, like I'm not saying it's like all at once, but um, you got to remember that like when we were a manufacturing economy, we were using child labor. Well, and and then we moved kind of to this service economy. I mean, and then there's like unions and the union, and they wanted to get away from the unions, and so they people move things abroad and things like that. But um, this idea that like we can get our manufacturing jobs back here, no, we just can't. But it's a very simple principle, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that we lost our manufacturing jobs and that we're a service economy. But you know, the the price of labor is always going to go up with the standard of living of a country. And so the fact that like American labor is very expensive is the result of the fact that like we've developed and things are great. Like the fact that like somebody is no longer willing to, be in a sweatshop making shoes in America is because, there are better jobs and better life for Americans. And so this kind of goes somewhere else. Um, so you're not going to have this like miracle situation where you're going to have cheap labor in America and that you're going to get your manufacturing jobs back. Or if you did, you're going to have incredibly high priced products. And so which do you want? Do you want your cheap shit, or do you want the manufacturing to be done somewhere else. I mean, people talk about that. It's weird because sometimes in economics they call it labor sickness, because they know that like you can never have a situation where your labor prices stay low, because as you develop, the labor prices go up. I think it was who said it? Shit, it's such a good quote. It's oh, okay. It's the quote is a really good one. It's Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie once said, "I couldn't imagine being too poor for servants or rich enough for a car." So when Agatha Christie was young, she had servants, but they obviously couldn't afford a car. And then she eventually, as time went on, servants became too expensive, but a car became affordable. And that's just like the nature of things. As things develop, your labor prices go up. So like the cost of stuff can go down and stay cheap, but the prices of services, go up. And so it's just this idea that we're gonna get like manufacturing jobs back in America. No, it's never fucking gonna happen. It's never fucking gonna happen. And the idea that we lost them because of the decrease in tariffs is also just like not true either. Like it's just sorry, like we would have lost them anyway. I mean, tariffs and protectionism are done for short-term benefit to certain sectors that are important in your economy, that are probably a voting base. That's it. And America, we already lowered our tariffs on everything for long enough that now there's no reason to ever put them back. It's just tariffs are dumb. Tariffs are dumb. We're already in this international world. Tariffs will just crash your economy and cause inflation, and that's it. So I say he was being facetious. Okay, that makes more sense. I get it. Early onset dementia. I mean, think about all the other dementia that's going on. I mean, you're talking like the people in our lives that are above the age of 75. George R. R. Martin, Trump. Like this is a thing. I have 3 healthy kids, but not gonna lie, I would side eye the shit out of the Winds of Winter if the devil offered. Where is tech and flame visions? Oh, I mean, the tech and flame visions is probably some sort of just telepathy. I don't think that like I think people looking into flame. So if I really explain like where do I think like looking into the flames, like where do I think that comes from? I don't think it's anything different from any of the other visions. So think of it this way. Danny takes a psychotropic drug and then sees visions, right? So she's altered her state of mind with a drug. And Bran eats werewood paste, and a psychotropic drug alters his state of mind. Arya hears about sniffing a candle and doing that, right? So we kind of know that like drugs will allow better telepathic messaging, at some point, right? So that's just fact. So staring into a fire. So we kind of know that like staring into a fire is soothing. It can hypnotize people. And so you're kind of like in a zone staring into a fire. And so that's the idea, is that in this like meditative state, you can have somebody telepathically like talk to you better. I mean, Aaron is not doing anything that different when he goes into the sea, right? He goes into the sea and he floats there, right? It's kind of a meditative state. So I think it's, it's similar. So I don't think that I think like the flames, you've got the regular powers that be sending messages. Time traveling Bran, Bloodraven, Marwyn, Quaithe, whoever. But if somebody's in a more telepathic state, like more like subdued state, they can receive it easier. You can think of like Doran going down and like waiting for the sunrise and things like that, waiting for the moon. So I think it's just something like that. I don't think that there's any technology in the flame. I think that watching the flame causes some sort of like hypnotic state. Yeah. Okay. Do you have thoughts on if we are close to needing UBI, or is that a level of automation still a way off macroeconomic in the first world? Universal basic income. I mean, I think universal basic income is a fantastic idea. I think people have been talking about universal basic income for I mean, Thomas Paine talked about universal basic income and common sense. I mean, I think I think universal basic income is a great idea, and generally speaking, just more social programs and such to redistribute our wealth. I mean, I think UBI is great because we have too much wealth disparity and an income disparity, and it'd be a great way to transition that money back to the poor again. I would just hand it out, send it back. Because it's true that young people do need money to start out, and it's to purchase basic needs that they need for the working world, education, whatever, computers, whatever they need to get into the working world. That universal basic income will provide it. I mean, Thomas Paine wanted like a larger stipend. He wanted Social Security for not just the old, but for the young, and then the workers before you got into the working world, and then the workers would pay for everything, and then So, but yeah, I think that we are in need of universal basic income. I don't think we're anywhere close to, as a society, of getting that, unfortunately. Well, I understand the benefit of global economy, but I'll remain a Clinton hater for normalizing Reaganomics mostly. Should have raised the top tax rate. Shoulda. Clinton did raise the top tax rate. That's precisely what he did during his tenure as president. And he didn't normalize Reaganomics. Reaganomics is mainly known for the Laffer curve. This idea that So the Laffer curve is this idea that if you tax people 100%, no one will work, and therefore government will collect no revenue. And if you tax people $0, you're obviously not going to collect anything. And so somewhere along this curve, there's an optimal tax rate that for economic production and collection that'll bring in more money. And so Reagan thought that we were past the peak, and that if you lowered taxes, you could increase government revenue. And so he lowered taxes during his presidency and was proven absolutely wrong. Government revenues dropped incredibly, and a couple of years later he raised taxes back up. It was a disaster. Clinton did the reverse. He raised taxes, pulled in more government revenue, and had a surplus. So no, like Clinton was doing the exact opposite of Reaganomics. Like the precise exact opposite. Um, yeah. So um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you got the idea that that Clinton was normalizing Reaganomics, because no, he did precisely the opposite. And to Bush one's credit, he did the opposite too. Um, to give, I don't like giving Bush one much credit, but yeah, he did the opposite too. Um, Oh, in universe explanation for four versus two legs dragon heraldry. So yes, I saw Glidus's video. A fucking incredible video. Uh, the On that it's and it is a really weird thing, right? Like when something is fantastical, you can understand that there is different interpretations of how something looks. But when something is freaking real, for the most part, that sort of thing doesn't happen. Um, Now that said, uh, there is the example of the Chinese with lions, and I'm going to try to think this through. So according to the story, the Romans sent the Chinese emperors lions, and you know, lions are mortal, and they eventually died. And so the Chinese had then stories of lions, um, and what they looked like, and they didn't really, and so they didn't know what to do. So they took their legendary stories of the dragons, and they made the lions look like the dragons, and that's why Chinese lions look fucked up. They look nothing like lions. And I'm trying to think this through, if this would somehow work with Game of Thrones, because like Viserys's pin has four leg dragon on it, but dragons aren't around, so maybe he heard the bad story. But why would their heraldry, when dragons still existed, have four legs when the dragons are right fucking there? Is there any fucking explanation for that? And why Dany also fucks up in Game of Thrones, when when her dragons are born and she can look at the dragons, does she put up her incorrect heraldry? I'm trying to think of like why anyone would use. All right, let me look at. All right, let me try to come up with one other kind of idea. All right, so here's a heraldic lion, and here's a real lion. That's not gonna work. Okay, here's a real lion. Okay. I mean, these are okay. So there's some differences between the real lion and the heraldic lion. Now, granted, it's not like lions are walking around England in the Middle Ages, but nonetheless, they might have some lion examples. Why are they giving these lions such bushy, furry legs when their legs aren't that furry? Let's see. Targaryen sigil. Why is my tummy is just making all sorts of something to do with the three legs, the three heads. Like, why are they making a three-headed dragon? Maybe in their stories, three heads would have four legs. But why only two wings? The tail. Something to do with, if you're gonna give it three heads, you end up giving it more legs, more to deal with the heads. I mean, it is really, really difficult to explain this away when you have an actual real life animal like in front of you, that you ride every day, to then have on your heraldry something that is completely wrong. Yeah. I'm gonna say that, something to do with, once you add three legs, they're just like, well, I guess the number of arms has to go up, but I don't know why it would go up to 4 and not 6. Okay, maybe there's a prophecy about a half dragon, half human that's gonna have different level of legs or something. You'd have to add another like fantastical story to it. We can get immediately less than 6 weeks turnaround manufacturing and small batch manufacturing, less than a container load. There's labor costs are irrelevant. No, it's just no. I don't know what you're talking about. 6 weeks. I mean, you can't even build a factory in that amount of time. What are you talking about? If tariffs are bad, why is it okay that other countries do it to our exports? For the most part, they don't. I mean, when you hear about these tariffs, they're pretty minor, and they're usually on things that, a lot of times it's just legacy stuff, and it's on stuff that's like some protectionist in their local government did. The thing is, I'm not saying it's okay when other countries do it. I think every country should have free trade. I think it's a bad policy when other countries do it too. It's no one who is arguing that it's okay when other countries do it. Who's making that argument? Like why? Think of the way you frame this question. If tariffs are bad, yes, tariffs are bad. Why is it okay when other countries do it to our exports? Who said that's okay? Like, what? Why are you asking that question? No one said that was okay. Like, it's dumb for them and harmful for them in the long run to have tariffs. But of course, all countries are like act irrationally and try to protect certain sectors locally for short-term individual gain. Um, like this, but these tariffs are incredibly low levels anyway. Um, I think they say that the country that has the highest tariffs on us is Bangladesh, and it's sock tariffs. I mean, this is like, I mean, I literally studied like international trade policy in grad school, so this is like kind of something we talked about a bit. But like Bangladesh had like the highest tariffs on the United States, and it was on socks. And you're like, well, what socks are we producing? We don't know, but Bangladesh had sock tariffs on us. You know, okay. But no one is saying it's okay. It's dumb when they do it. It's dumb when we do it. Like who's making this argument? Jarv, you're asking weird questions. Yeah, almost all of our allies have tariffs. You know, everybody got little tariffs. Like, I'm not saying they're good, but I'm saying they're being dumb. But putting tariffs on our own stuff is just harmful to ourselves. Like, it's harmful. Like, why would you do it? Like, it's harmful to them. They don't realize it's harmful to them, or they do, but they don't care because they're protecting certain sectors. You know, but it's like there's no justification for the like putting our own tariffs on. Like that just hurts ourselves. Like, I mean, to an example, like I have a trade deficit with, I bring this up a lot. I have a trade deficit with Chipotle. Okay. So say like I don't want myself, so I decide that I'm going to put a tariff on Chipotle's burritos so that like burritos would be more expensive for me to buy. Why? So I can buy less Chipotle burritos? Like what's the fun, like this is how illogical tariffs are. Like when you actually like start thinking about it like this. Like, okay, we're buying this really cheap product, okay, that we don't even produce. Like, why would I want to make this foreign product more expensive for myself? Like, that's literally how dumb tariffs are. Now, if I happen to produce that same good and I run that business, it makes sense. Like, say I sell American wine and I'm selling wine for $20 a bottle, and the French wine is $15 a bottle, and I want to beat out those French. We can put on a tariff on the French, and then their wine is more expensive and people are more willing to buy my wine. Ha 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 ha. The tariff has worked for my specific wine company. But like putting blanket tariffs on things and on products that we don't even produce is it's madness. Like, you're not, like, people talked about tariffs as protectionism, but if you're not actually protecting anyone in your, like, with the tariff, like, you're not even like protecting any individuals. Like, and you should be trying to protect, like, if your industry can't compete with another industry, then you probably shouldn't exist. But like, you know, this is how like silly it all is. Jar's asking some weird questions because it's just like you're not seeing it right. Like, tariffs do not benefit anybody, like, except for people in very specific industries who produce something domestically who don't want to compete with the foreign company. So it might, like I say, a wine tariff might help an American wine company specifically, but not the average American. The average American is dealing with more expensive wine. Could there not be something in the water causing werewolves and flame visions from burning wood and a bunch of other phenomena? I mean, maybe, but like, I think the flame visions, like, doesn't Balon Greyjoy like stare into flames? Um, and the um, I can't remember if Mel's visions are from Burning Werewood, but certainly not on Dragonstone. They don't have any werewoods on Dragonstone, so it's not that it couldn't be. But I don't like the flames seem to like work without. Certainly, Makoral's flames don't have werewood. So I mean, um, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely visions without werewood. Period. Like, so I think it's mostly about. I'm thinking the visions have more to do with telepathy and brains than they do with the actual substance of anything. Um, I'm not going to be against reciprocal tariffs if a country is tariffing Ford or GM. I'm not really going to be standing against fighting to lower the barriers. The thing is, that's not what has been proposed and put in place at all. Um, what you're talking about here is finding a country, looking at their tariffs, and then trying to increase our tariffs or to have some sort of um, like fight to induce them to lower their tariffs. And the problem with so in this argument, your argument is that free trade is the best situation and that tariffs are bad. You're just saying that you want to punish somebody else for doing something that you perceive as bad. That's not what Trump has been saying. Trump has been saying that tariffs inherently are good, is good in and of themselves, and that they will collect revenue for the country. Like, he's not like, these tariffs aren't a negotiating tactic to bring all tariffs down. Like, because that's admitting that tariffs are bad. Trump has universally said that tariffs are good in and of themselves. Okay. If you're talking about using tariffs as a strategy to try to bring other people to the bargaining table to bring tariffs down, like, that might be something, but that's not the case. Like, especially because the tariffs have been on every country and have been on every product. They've been on our like allies that we had free trade agreements with, like Canada and Mexico, where they have zero tariffs on our cars, zero. And you're talking like, if you're talking about like specifically like saying to come, and I don't know like the car tariff that say Germany has on us for Ford or something. I mean, I'll have to like look this up but I mean, I don't know all the tiny little tariffs level, but they're not high. I mean, like German car tariff on Ford cars. What is the import tax? Customs duties are 10% of the customs duties, the tariff, right? Customs duties are 10%. Yeah. So say, but he put a 25% tariff on everything, right? Like it's just like, which is it? Like, you have to get your argument straight. Do you think tariffs are fundamentally good, or do you think tariffs are fundamentally bad? Like, which is it? So once you decide, then you say, what's our end game here? Like, what's your end game? Do you want no tariffs or do you want tariffs? Because every piece of rhetoric from Trump and his clan have been that tariffs are good in and of themselves for bringing in revenue, and that they'll bring manufacturing back to America. There are the argument that you're making that tariffs are going to somehow lower somebody else's tariffs in some sort of like punishment tit for tat way, like is just it's just the wrong argument to make. Like just answer me like fundamentally, do you think tariffs are good or bad? Like that's it. Like what's your end game? Do you want no tariffs or do you want tariffs? in Gen Nate Kenny is being quite funny and correct here. Yes, the Smoot Hawley Act was a great idea. Yeah, Devin is right. All these people are completely right. What's funny is it's the one scene from Ferris Bueller that everybody kind of means. Yeah. If we can't build steel ships here, we can't protect trade lanes. That's silly. That's silly. Um, the dollar will be worthless anyway. What? You're conflating a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we don't produce in America that it doesn't matter that we don't produce them in America. Like, do you think we produce, like, seriously, do you think we produce screws? Are there any American made screws? Nuts? I guess there's some fastener. American made screws are readily available. Okay. What nuts? I'm just saying you're going to find something. I mean, we don't make everything. Okay. You can pick anything and be like, well, if we don't make it, we can't protect it. Well, what are you talking about? We're already an international world. Like our semiconductors come from Taiwan. Okay. Everybody's semiconductors come from Taiwan. Everybody's. So like this idea that like we need to produce things in America is no, that's just dumb because we already don't produce everything in America. Like that's just not how the world works. But this idea that like, oh, like we can't protect our trade lanes. What are you talking about? Trade lanes? What? What? Like, is there like a physical war out there where trade lanes are getting attacked? I mean, there's some pirates off the coast of Somalia, but like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Jarv? Man, you're falling apart here. You're falling apart. What? Arguing to not have tariffs because they aren't nice. There was something. There's the WTO and like GATT and different trade rounds where people negotiate and try to bring trade barriers down over the course of like 50 years. It was a huge achievement. It was a constant thing being done by diplomats, and now it's all ruined. Like we've been trying to negotiate with people for 50 years and slowly been ratcheting the trade barriers down slowly, and now it's all undone. 50 years of diplomacy. How much was faceless JD paid to kill Septon? Any plans for a sequel to Ghosts and Indians or other projects besides The Winds of Winter? Sort of. It is really weird that like the Pope died the next day. Jeez, that's pretty funny though. I don't know if I have enough energy right now to work on a sequel to Ghosts and Indians. I mean, I have some ideas on like where the story would go and things like that, but I think it was such hard work to do the first book. I mean, and it's I don't know. I don't know if I have the energy right now to think about trying to do another one. It's got so many other things that I've been busy with. I'm just so exhausted. It was really nice to actually get Ghost and Indians like off the plate and be done, and have it out there. So that made me very happy. So I don't know if I'm ready to throw another book to throw into another book, but Yeah, I mean, but I'm happy though that people that have read Ghosts and Indians like it. Um, George R. R. Martin, it's magic. Also, George R. R. Martin sees magical creature with 6 limbs. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Europe had lions probably earlier than 8,000 years ago. I mean, there's discussions of lions living in Europe probably at least like so for instance there's lions in murals in the Middle East and around like 800 AD. So I mean I think that lions were in Europe probably around the same time, but still, I mean, the point is taken that it's many, many hundreds of years that the lions have probably gone extinct in Europe when they're still being used as heraldry. But people still like go to Africa and see them. Oh, medieval depictions of dolphins and whales were wild. Huh. Yeah, but okay, that's true. These are good points. All right, this is a good point. This is a dolphin. But to be fair, you can't just like walk over and look at the dolphin, right? Because you'd have to go out in the ship and see him jumping in the distance and stuff like that. Um, so it's I mean the thing with the Targaryens is that like their dragons are right there. They're literally riding them, and then Daemon is riding a dragon, and then has his heraldry right there. Um, oh, maybe it's more like the two-headed eagle, and the four legs represent something. Oh yeah, this is a really good point. Where did the two? All right, all right. Now I'm with you. Okay. This is a really good idea. This is a really good idea. Okay. So like the two-headed eagle, usually like what does the second head represent, right? It originates from the Bronze Age. Um, there's even a triple-headed eagle. Royal insignia. But did it represent like was it supposed to be a fantastical animal, or did it represent like the the face of peace and the face of war, or something like that? Um, did it symbolize anything? That's the thing is okay. Much in the same way that you've got this double-headed eagle, like you could say that like okay, the four arms of the Targaryens, like two hands are to attack, while two hands are for building and peace, or something like that. That it's representation of something. Um, Four-legged banners are just cheap knockoffs from Esos. Yeah, but I think they would have enough money to have these sewn. No, no one is arguing that it's okay for people to tariff us. What do you what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We have to just take it. Yeah, some things we just fucking take. Like, you know, like this idea like, oh geez, like, like, my God, my I wash the dishes 4 nights a week, and my wife only washes the dishes 3 times a week. Oh my God, I'm just gonna fucking take that divorce. Fucking, like, yeah, you're just like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? Like, you don't like nuke a situation because something is like slightly off and unfair. Like, what idiocy, man. Jarv, you're over the top. You're over the top. Like, you're talking about a global depression. And the thing is, this is not the fucking, like I keep saying, man, this is not the argument that the people putting the tariffs in are like taking. Okay, they are not taking this argument. You seem to believe that you seem to agree that tariffs are bad, and that everyone should have no tariffs. And I would agree that tariffs are bad and no one should have any tariffs. But this is not the argument that any of these policymakers are putting in. They think that they are good in and of themselves. Okay? And just because an arrangement is unfair, which obviously it's not unfair, because what country is like has the best economic growth and is like, before all of this, and like, America. We're fucking definitely have the best situation here where we used to, when it comes to like wealth and like winning in the global marketplace. Okay. So like this idea that somehow like we're in an unfair position is ridiculous. It's like a billionaire complaining that the system is rigged against them. These people, it's so unfair. Like, you're a fucking billionaire. We're America. We're fucking rich. Okay. It's okay that some countries have slightly high tariffs on a few products. We'll negotiate with them later to bring them down. But you don't nuke the fucking world and going to fucking depression over that. Like, where are you coming from, dude? Like, you haven't thought these things through. You haven't thought these ideas through at all. Like, answer the very basic question, like, are tariffs good or bad? If you're saying that they're bad, why are all of your fucking leaders that you worship saying that they're great in and of themselves? Man. Trade imbalances and tariffs aren't the same thing. You said that to yourself. Yeah, but the Trump thinks they are. Trump thinks that the trade imbalances are from tariffs. He thinks that tariffs will repair a trade imbalance. But by the way, there's nothing wrong with a trade imbalance. Like, trade deficits do nothing. Trade deficits have no negative effect. Like, somehow he's got in his head that like a trade deficit is a bad thing. It's not bad in any way whatsoever. Like, my trade imbalance with Chipotle, very, very negative. Chipotle buys nothing from me. Doesn't matter. Doesn't fucking matter. But okay. I mean, it's what? This is all dumb. This is all dumb. This makes no sense, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. That you have to have domestic steel for shipbuilding. No, you don't. Why would you need domestic steel to build ships? You just build it with foreign steel. Who fucking cares? This is just... I mean, I don't know what... Jarvis just fucking... he's just saying shit. He hasn't like thought any of this through, man. Here we go. Okay, 2 legs for peacetime, 4 for war, mixed for later. But the beginning of House of the Dragon, they're at peace, right? So they should, and they had 4 at the beginning of House of the Dragon. The only thing that like, the the most valuable thing I learned from Glidus's video is that sigils actually don't appear in the show as much as you think they do. like I realize, like, making my videos and everything, I use sigils fucking constantly, like animating shit and everything. Like, but actually in the show, sigils hardly appeared. And so when he was talking about, like, oh, in this scene they got it right, in this scene they got it wrong, it wasn't that many rights and it wasn't that many wrongs. Like, he was actually enumerating them in entirety, at least for Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon was different. House of the Dragon, they fucking are everywhere. And so it was really, and it was like no season was consistent on the 2-4 thing. That was the other thing that was very that I learned, is that the show was never consistent. but the it does, yeah. I don't know if you can do the peacetime wartime, because essentially found that in Game of Thrones they use 2 and 4 at the same time all the time, and House of the Dragon is at peace and then they're at war, and the sigils are the same. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Meant something ubiquitous in water, in everything. Oh. The water itself is carrying the magic rather than like the tree or the wood. I mean, possibly. It's hard to say. I mean, it could. I mean, the problem is like when people are shooting telepathic messages everywhere, like radio waves. That's pretty ubiquitous too. Um, and so we at least know that, like, there's glass candles shooting shit everywhere, and the werewoods are shooting shit everywhere. I'm just saying, when Mel sees the vision of Bloodraven and Bran, you know, was that coming from Bloodraven himself? Like, is Bloodraven or Bran or time traveling Bran or somebody like shooting those messages to Mel, and just the way that she gets into the mood is by staring at flames and like getting all hypnotized and allowing the messages to like go right in. So, um, this is the weird. I think tariffs and taxes are both policies. They aren't good or bad in and of themselves. Um, I mean, every major economist like will tell you that tariffs lead to deadweight loss, that they are straight up inefficiency. So, like, from an economics point of view, like, I don't see how tariffs are good in any sense. Like, they're just deadweight loss. There's a few of these examples when we talk about deadweight loss. Deadweight loss is when like wealth goes to no one. No one enjoys it. The primary example of deadweight loss is standing in line. Okay, like, if you are waiting in line, you are losing your time, meaning you're losing your wealth. And meanwhile, the business is not collecting that. So waiting in line is the classic example of just wealth that is just lost. It is inefficiency, lost for the sake of inefficiency. So the same thing happens when, like, you're talking about tariffs. So, like, if I'm buying apples at a low price and country X is selling coconuts at a low price, and all of a sudden both prices go up, well, now we're going to be buying less shit from each other, and that's less efficient, and it's not as optimal for utility. It means I'm switching to something I like less, more apples, and he's switching to something he likes less, more coconuts. When, like, the perfect situation is, I have my utility function of some some apples and some coconuts and the perfect utility between them. And country X has the perfect thing of apples and coconuts. And that's great. But when the prices are raised, then all of a sudden I'm shifting and I'm having a ratio that's inefficient. So tariffs, I can tell you that all economists, I mean, not all, but 99% of economists say that tariffs are bad in and of themselves. It's weird. It's really weird that we are in this world where some crazy loon is telling you that like that tariffs are good, and that other countries pay them and things like that. Like, Jarv, do you have any economics background? Like, do you have any like background to be having an opinion about tariffs? Like, did you go to school at all? Did you take any classes? Did you take any econ? Like, did you take any econ? Because what makes you think you understand economics on any level to say that like tariffs are not good or bad in and of themselves? Like, this is always a funny thing, like on certain issues, like, you know, like I watch videos on physics, but there's no way like I would ever go up to a physicist and be like, let me tell you. You know, like, oh, I'm sorry, you went to school for that shit? Oh, okay. like what makes you think that like why do you believe that? Is it only because you like Trump and therefore Trump is doing something and you're defending it? Like, is that the only reason? Like, what evidence do you have to make you think that tariffs are good? You know, or even neutral? Like, this is this weird thing because you're starting from the position that like Trump's policy must be okay, and I like Trump, and therefore I'm gonna like justify whatever he's doing, rather than like, you know, an actual background in it. Theory: Mance accidentally resurrects whites and others by digging up graves along the Milkwater. There's no recent history of either until around the time which is made circa with voice ranging. Thoughts? Huh. Hello. Finally made it in this late.
Evidence? There's no evidence for anything these people know about or care about.
I know.
It came to him in a dream.
He had a feeling. It came to him in his gut.
I'm sorry to Nick here. You finish it. I was gonna bring up something, but go ahead and finish, Nick.
What do you think of the idea that it's like the two-headed eagle? That it, like the two arms represent like war and two arms represent peace, and that you've got...
No. I already no. Well, I mean, the first head of the eagle represents the Imperium of mankind, and the other represents the treaty with Mars and the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yes. Well, there you go.
I was actually taking care of something. I was not here for the conversation. All I heard was you watched Glidus's video, and then I had to dip out. What was the?
Glidus did it like an in-depth on. He went through every single appearance of heraldic dragons in A Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Is that why his videos always take so long? He's just
he did it for everything in A Game of Thrones, because the statement like George made, which was wrong, was that like, oh, they had two legs and then all of a sudden they screwed up come the later seasons, and that's not true. Like, they actually screwed up like all through the whole thing. Like, Game of Thrones is inconsistent from the beginning with 2 and 4 legged dragons. Yeah. That in the first scene that we see of Viserys, he's wearing a pin with a 4-legged dragon. But you know, and so he goes
through crown. There's the sigil of House Martell, and I don't even think they're in the fold yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he, you know, he goes through every single one, and it shows that like the show is incredibly inconsistent, and the supplemental material is inconsistent, and it's just fucking nuts, and it doesn't make any sense. But this fascinating theory that maybe it's like, because the idea that it doesn't make sense because they have a dragon right there and they can see that it's got two legs. I shouldn't have Heraldry that has it four. This is very unlike, say, dragons in the real world where there's no dragons, so there's no point of reference. So, but people brought up that the eagle, there's eagle points of reference, and yet we have two-headed eagles. And so, in a similar vein, in having two-headed eagles or three-headed eagles, you could have four-armed dragons. You have the arms represent different things.
I saw someone in the stream chat said they might 2 for peacetime and 4 for war. Was that
What's this?
the dragons? Two legs for peacetime and
Yeah,
4 for war.
yeah, but that doesn't work. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing, but has George or Condell or even Dave and Dan ever commented on it? I know George has complained about it, but
George has complained about it. I think I heard Condell intentionally did the four-legged dragons because of the four-legged dragons in Game of Thrones. His theory, Condell's theory, was that the four-legged dragon was the real sigil, and that the two-legged dragon sigil that Dany, after she discovered her heritage, looked up and had more contact with Westeros, looked up her sigil and like found the real one and like put it on her sails. And that like
this is something Condell said.
Yeah. And that
okay.
He had said that like, well, the four legs has to come from somewhere. So it must, that's why he did it intentionally, to try to make consistency with Dany's sails. Because
if that's true, if it's Dany looking up what the real Targaryen sigil was, then wouldn't her dragon be a little different or have a different design? Technically, right? If she doesn't really know what the target, unless it's she saw it in the book, or
she didn't really have knowledge of the sigil, but later on, as she got more power, she got more books or something, and she looked it up.
That's believable, because we have Targaryens who aren't rebels who have their own sigil. Who's the asshole? Aerion. Oh,
Aerion Bryflin. Yeah,
Bryflin. Doesn't he have his own like Targaryen sigils? With
he does.
The heads have it.
I mean, a lot of them have their own sigils. Yeah.
I could buy that. Yeah, it's believable.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's kind of better than what Dave and Dan did, which was just Google it and then put it there, because that's what they did with the House Reed sigil.
Yeah, yeah. So this theory that Mance accidentally resurrects the Whites because he was digging up graves along the Milkwater, and no recent history. So maybe, I mean, it's kind of a chicken or the egg there, right? Because Mance would say that the others were causing trouble, which made him really want to go south of the Wall, and that was the thing pushing him. But this is reversing it and saying that like, oh, he's and that he got support from all the wildlings because they were upset about the others. This would reverse things and say that he actually was the first person that started digging them up, which brought the Whites out. Like he opened some tomb and the Night King walked out or something and started doing something. So that's interesting. Now the thing is, I think in A Game of Thrones, Gior says that they've spotted White Walkers, that Cotter Pike had spotted White Walkers along the shore in the far east. So if Mance was doing this digging, it would have had to have been like years and years ago, like prior to Waymar Royce kind of stuff. And I don't know, it makes it seem like their digging was being done around the same time as their gathering in the Frostfangs. So I don't know if the timeline works on that one, but um, I don't know. Um, what else has been going on with you, man?
So, fucking Count Balerion here fucked us. Now we have to cover that fucking Boston University season 8 thing because, yeah, I guess it sounds interesting. I guess we'll cover it. We should probably do a podcast on that because I took a look at it too, and yeah, it looks interesting. Their hypothetical season 8. So, because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done with season 8 talk. But I guess we have room for one
Yeah.
more. What do you think? What do you think? Room for one more season 8 conversation?
Oh, of course. Did you hear that there was this University of Boston season 8 that they wrote before season 8? I haven't read these scripts, but it's a bunch of college kids like made a season 8 before season 8, like fanfic.
This is how I know you have ADHD because I literally just said that.
Well, oh! I'm so
You
sorry because I was reading.
ADHD motherfucker. How?
I was
Oh my
reading. I was reading
god.
comments at the same time. I'm sorry,
I
motherfucker.
know, I know. You do this often. Yes, I know.
I'm so
It's all right,
sorry. I'm
Capillarion. He
so sorry.
apologized. Well, like I said, I don't know if I have enough room for another season 8 thing,
I
but
know. I know.
it's whatever. It's kind of like that thing that Robert Ebert, whatever his fucking name was, said about Red Letter Media's prequel reviews. Just when he
Hmm.
thought he didn't have enough like patience for another prequel review, Red Letter Media proved him wrong. So I guess depending how good this is,
Yeah, yeah.
Preston's dementia kicking in.
It is totally my dementia kicking in.
Ah!
It's hard to get everything at once, like trying to like reading everything and like listening to Carmine at the same time and like um but man.
Should I wait about us to talk about the Asha chapter then?
No, we can talk about Asha. It'll be out.
So I got it. I told you this privately, and I'll say it here to the audience. The Asha chapter you did, I think it's probably one of the best ones you've done so far for the fanfic.
Oh, thank
Definitely
you.
top notch. I really liked the ending. I thought it was great. There's some funny moments in it. There's also one moment. I'll tease this to the audience. I thought there's a character that Preston. There's a character that Asha talks about where I'm like, is that canon? Like, is that did George originally did that? And it fits so well with that character that you won't be able to tell. I won't spoil who it is. Don't spoil it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like this just makes sense for this character's history.
Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, no, it was some fun. There was some fun little lore that we put in there. And we tried to make it very ironborn-ish. It's that's the thing is it's from Asha's point of view, so you're around Asha, and she doesn't necessarily have view of the entire battle at the time. But I'm glad you liked it. I'm always nervous about all of these chapters and how they turn out. And people have been
Let me
waiting for this.
give props to your main editors here, Taylor and V2, because you told me how you weren't going to end it the way you did in as it stands now, but V2 convinced you to like put something else in there that was like way better, right?
Yeah, he did. He did. I was going to end it a certain way, and he convinced me that it. He actually convinced me like it needed to have more focus on how it actually ends. He's like this character is hardly a character. He's a very important character. You need to bring it around. And I was like, all right. So I went back to the drawing board and I wrote a little ending, and I hope it's what people like. But
It was a I liked that ending quite a bit, and shout out to V2. I know he's Brazilian, and I would praise him in our mother tongue, but Ice is currently listening in, so probably best I don't do that. However, yeah, but V2, good shit, man. To the editors Taylor and Mr. Will, your George R. R. Martin guy.
yeah.
Yeah, well done. Props. I quite enjoyed it, and I am hyping it up. I really think it's one of your best. I really
Oh,
do.
thank you, man. You make me blush. You make me blush. um mm-mm. Let's see. Are we almost to the end here? I better head to bed pretty soon. Um Every Trumper has bad faith. That is true. That is true. Um, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to. So there was this. Oh God. So I I went in. I had to go to something with my kid, and I was talking to one of the other mothers, and uh, and I was like, oh, maybe we should do a play date sometime, and she's like, yeah, 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 and I was like, yeah, because my kid, like, he might be losing a lot of his friends because the USAID people, are all getting sent home because of Trump, and she's like, yeah, yeah, that's bad. She's like, I agree with some of the things he does, but not that. And then I was like, what things? I was like, I guess we're not doing play dates, like I was like, like, like what things? The deporting of children with cancer, the sending people to prisons in El Salvador with no due process, firing of all these federal employees,
This is a Dominican woman.
wresting power from the from the legislative branch, trying to ban abortion. Like what? What are you doing? Like what?
Is a Hispanic woman?
Yeah,
Yeah. You I we're not ready to have this conversation yet. You, me, and
yeah, I
the
know,
left, but Hispanics are conservative. They're more
I
conservative than like
know.
your most southern redneck like that has always been a thing. Latinos, for the most part, are more conservative than you. Every Latino has one thing in their home that rednecks and like any religious right wing nut in the America doesn't have: a picture of Jesus. Like they're very conservative. Like
Mhm.
Hispanic mothers will
Yeah, I
count
mean,
their son.
it's a weird thing because you hear the conservative line that, oh, they're letting in the whole reason that they're letting in these immigrants is that they want to change the electorate to be more democratic, and it turns out these immigrants are not more democratic, but also they can't vote for how long? I mean, how long does it take to get citizenship? Like I
Mm.
mean, especially if you're undocumented, it's such a silly thing because it's just like
No
what?
undocumented is going to risk being
Yeah.
caught by going to just like they don't care. Not only that though, but again, this is one of those things where only a really like an actual Latino like myself can really
Mm.
comment. Latinos don't really like living next to other Latinos. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing is like I could see another Latino being like, yeah, no, they probably should be deported without due process to an El Salvadorian prison, and you're like, yeah, like
Mr. A goes, why is it that hard for the left? Because you guys won't, you guys seem to think that brown equals left all the time. That's just not true.
it's just not true. Yeah.
It's just not true. Like a lot of these non-Western countries can't really afford to be progressive, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean that in every which way, financially, and
Yeah. I
they
mean,
just
Captain Toast is like, I mean, they're Catholic. It's true. I live in a country for example, I mean, Dominican Republic is, it's, there's not exactly the freest of elections here. Abortion's illegal. I mean, there's a lot of combination of church and state. It's a very conservative kind of country here. Yeah.
But the left at large is not really ready to have that conversation because you motherfuckers just won't hear that unless it's coming from another Latino. And even then, I guess that guy's not really a true Latino, but
Yeah.
like Puerto Ricans for the most part voted for Trump. And then when, when that comedian said that island of garbage thing, then they wanted to change their minds, but still, for the most part, Latinos are conservative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or at least, I mean, it depends. It depends which. That's the other thing is depends which Latino, right? Like Cubans and Venezuelans are super conservative. Puerto Ricans are on the liberal side, but Mexicans are on the liberal side, like slightly, not super. But the thing is, each country is different. It's like they're not. Latino is not really a homogenous group, like it's a it's it's kind of ridiculous to even have one term to refer to everybody, because it's so different. But yeah, I just, yeah, it's weird though. It's be weird running into to to people saying that, like, you know, that there's anything to find of value in Trump right now. It's crazy.
Well, to be
Uh,
fair, with that Dominican woman, it's kind of like
mm,
that situation a couple streams back with that dude from New Zealand who was in your stream chat, basically saying he was a fan of Trump. Yeah, bitch, you're a fan of Trump all the way over there, where it doesn't affect
right,
you.
right. It's also like when, you know, I there was this farmer dude going around. He was being his TikTok was being splattered everywhere, because he had his like farm contract or his farm subsidy like canceled. His Biden farm subsidy canceled by Trump, and it was kind of this whole like, you know, I'm all for trashing everybody else's life, but the minute it affects me, all of a sudden, like, it's a different world. And, you know, to be fair to the guy, he did open up a little bit about it. He's like, yeah, I'm really sorry that, like, I was not very sympathetic to other people's, like, you know, causes before, like, before something hit for myself, you know. And that's the way a lot of people are. Like, you know, like I say, like, a lot of these people that are conservative that appear in my streams, like, they're not women, and so they don't think about women's rights. You know, they don't think about reproductive rights. Like, they just don't think about it. And, you know, to be honest, like, they're not fucking. Like, they're not fucking, and so they're not thinking about women's reproductive rights. You know, like really
That's
important things.
I really hate to make this about Star Wars and fucking Star Wars theory because he's Canadian, so what the fuck does
Yeah,
he
yeah.
care? But what you just said there, like they're not thinking about women, makes a lot of sense, and it reminds me of what you said in regards to Star Wars theories, whole thing about the Empire wouldn't condone sexual assault because
Mm.
you said theory is saying it's not about he's making it about the Empire. You're saying it's not about the Empire, it's about Bix and her
It was about
story,
Bix, right?
right?
Like,
So he's not thinking about the woman.
he was so in a different world that, like,
Mm-hmm.
this story about Bix, it's Bix's story, and he somehow was making it about Vader. Like, like, I don't like he's looking at, like, Bix's trauma, and somehow it's about Darth Vader. Like,
Did
you
you
know, I
see?
don't.
Oh, Preston! Oh my God, he did the impossible. He made Critical Drinker the most reasonable person ever because Critical Drinker actually kind of low key called him out by saying, "Well, the Empire wouldn't condone it, but they probably don't really know about it. And if they did, so that guy is probably not going out of his way to email the Empire, Vader specifically." That's my Critical Drinker about what
Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
doing. Which is, I mean, yeah, Krieg Drink has a point. Like, how the fuck are you making me agree with? You're so dog shit. How are you making me agree with Drinker?
Right,
Fuck,
right.
Jesus.
Right. I mean, obviously the Empire doesn't like any breakings of laws, right? You know, so, but, like, it's also like how much they care, you know, how much do they care, you know? I don't know. It all depends. Like, I bet the Empire, if they thought it, like, put fear in the hearts of other undocumenteds, they'd be fine with it. It's like right now, like, the undocumented in America are getting deported without due process. That's against the law. Okay, that's illegal. But do you think they care? Do you think those fascists care? I mean, we've heard the comments from the cabinet and Trump, like, they just don't care. It's a violation of the law. But, you know,
So what you're saying is somehow the Trump administration is worse than the Empire. Somehow.
well, the thing is, we don't know. We don't know if they've, like, you know, we don't know. Like, I just don't think they just don't think Vader is somebody who tortures people and blows up planets. He doesn't care. By the way, I just saw a video
Well,
recently that like destroyed Star Wars for me, because they're like, why do you need a Death Star? Like, couldn't you just, like, have one of your Star Destroyers, like, drop a couple nuclear warheads and make a planet completely uninhabitable? Like, why do you need to
because I
blow the
think there's
whole?
enough technology to make it rehabitable. It's kind of crazy how every single fucking planet in Star Wars
Mm,
has breathable air and
I
insane
see. I see.
gravity.
So you're saying that, like, Star Wars has enough technology to unirradiate to like take the radiation off of a planet. So they have to like completely blow it into smithereens to make it actually go.
Terraforming? Yeah, like terraforming a planet and cleaning it the fuck. I would think so. Oh my god, they have light faster than light speed travel. They would have to have that
Yeah,
technology.
yeah,
How do you skip?
yeah. Could the sparrows be secret fundamentalists for the mother created through glass candles, thus creating a theological basis for Roynish law based on Mariolatry, worship of the Virgin Mary? Um, so I think I did have a theory. I think in the deeper Dorn, I go pretty tinfoil, where I say that like the brave companion's actions, um, like were like and the religious fundamentalism that comes out of the violence of the Riverlands was like planned by the Dornish, and that like and I think I probably go pretty far on that one, but also like people are receiving visions. It's very clear that people are receiving visions. Um, like Lancel, for example, is receiving visions from somebody and it's turning him into a fundamentalist. And so in the end, it's probably time traveling Bran or something, like whatever. But like, somebody seems to be creating the fundamentalism through visions, like beyond just like, why would these fundamentalists all of a sudden rise at this particular time? By chance, like that all of these people that are willing to carve stars into their fucking chests and go nuts, they happen to come at the same time that dragons are hatching and White Walkers are coming south. Like it's quite a coincidence that this religious zealotry like comes out of nowhere so fast. So it may be that somebody is sending visions to people around to create the fundamentalists. And it may be somebody with a glass candle. It may be. Maybe it's Marwyn. Maybe Marwyn was creating fundamentalists right and left. Maybe Doran is creating fundamentalists right and left with his visions, convincing everybody that they're being talked to by God. We know at least that's happening with Lancel. Um, we don't know what's going on in everybody else's heads, but at least with Lancel, someone seems to be talking to him and convincing him that they're God. So, I mean, I don't know if it's like mother related or worship of the Virgin Mary or something like that, but I don't think it's like that crazy to think that the Sparrow movement is caused by some glass candles or time traveling Bran or somebody else, because we have a whole chapter of Lancel being wacko. So once Mary became canonized as Queen of Heaven, it provided a case for female rule on Earth. If there's a queen ruling heaven, from Birth of the Chess Queen by Marilyn Yalom. The problem is the Sparrow movement is pretty darn sexist. They're remember, Cersei does her walk of shame not for murder or anything like that. The things she's actually guilty of, she does it for adultery. And so, having her walk around with naked in order to like shame her and things like that, and like steal her femininity and things like that. Have it displayed out so she doesn't have that power anymore. Her sexual agency, her beauty agency over people or whatever. Which is what Cersei kind of describes it as in a feast for in a Dance with Dragons. Kevin does too. That they're taking her power. So I mean, we don't have any evidence of the sparrows looking for something female or woman. It's just they seem like a bunch of religious crazy. They seem like a bunch of conservative religious crazies. So I don't have anything kind of pro women from them. They seem like a bunch of sexists. So when's the Asha chapter coming out? I'll try for Tuesday. I'm gonna try to get it done by Tuesday. I'm in recording it. So all right, guys. A lot of people become pro-choice for 72 hours. That's true when they pay for the. Yeah. But it's about Vader. What's Vader's tax policy? All right, let's see if I'm getting to the end here. And then Carmine, thank you for joining me. I'm gonna head to bed. Thank you everyone for hanging out, and we'll look out for the Asha chapter this week. And then I'm working on Dunk Part 2, and getting through the Hedge Knight and things like that. So I will talk to you guys soon.